All right, good morning, everybody. Greetings and salutations. My name is Andrew Kiorkof, and welcome to our Week 14 live stream where we'll have the next 2 hours of talking all things fantasy football, answering your guys' questions, of course, presenting to you guys my updated rankings for Week 14 as of this morning in order to make sure that we're helping you win this week. And not only that, make our playoffs and go down the stretch, win a couple games, enter the big dance, and potentially win a 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. Again, today is going to be pretty simple. Of course, if you have a question in regards to a specific position, the screen should be able to answer it unless it is at a deeper variety, unless it's, players outside of the top 36 at the running back and wide receiver position and players outside of the top 16 quarterbacks and tight ends. Again, do not forget, everything that I do throughout a weekly basis is in a half PPR scoring format. Mainly because, again, I want to meet everyone in the middle, whether you do play in a standard league or perhaps in a full PPR scoring format. So the rankings on screen, though they are updated as of 12/12/2021, as of this morning, it is in a half PPR scoring format. It does make a little bit of a difference for full PPR standard, but just all in all, just want to kind of give you guys an understanding or representation as to how I think everything's going to pan out after all the information that has been divulged to us throughout the week. Now, we did live stream after the Thursday night football game, and we did, kind of talk about a couple relevant points here or there, and I want to go ahead and update you guys on some of those relevant points. So there's a lot of players out. We know that. I mean, that's every week for the last, I'd say month, maybe 2 months now, that we've seen consistent players being out every single week. But a couple of the more important, players that need to be confirmed to be playing this weekend is, number one, Deebo Samuel. Last night there was a report that was sent out that said that he's going to be playing today. So for those of you who have Deebo Samuel, for sure, go ahead, make sure that he is in your lineup and in your roster. Currently have him as my number 7 ranked wide receiver going into this weekend's play. Also, a couple other pieces of information. Like Keenan Allen, he's out. So Mike Williams continues to maintain his top 10 standing like we talked about earlier this week. Other players, Darrell Henderson's out. Sony Michel gets back into a top 12 conversation, or kind of near that area, I would say. He's at number 11 currently on the list. There's a lot of opportunity to be had in that, Los Angeles Rams backfield. So certainly want to go ahead and take advantage of that anytime we are able to do so. So if you have Sony Michel, certainly consider playing him this weekend. Outside of that, I think we're pretty much good to go. I mean, we'll talk about players. Information will be brought up via the questions you guys send in. Again, I'm trying to answer everyone's question, but again, if you want to jump the line and get to the front in terms of priority, in terms of getting your questions answered, you can send in a donation via the super chat. If you do send in a question, please be sure to let me know what your scoring format is so I have an understanding as to where you're playing. If you are, just going to be in a half PPR, you don't have to mention it. I'll just answer it via half PPR and we'll be good to go. Outside of that, thank you guys for showing up this morning. Again, I'm always glad to be doing these kind of things, trying to help you guys out as much as I possibly can. There's about 300 of you in the chat. If you guys could, please be sure to click the like button down below. It certainly does help grow the channel. It serves to boost the algorithm via YouTube so that YouTube knows, hey, Andrew's gaining some traction here. And then, of course, can help grow the channel in all ways possible. Good morning, everyone. Let's get into this, shall we? All righty. Let's begin with a couple questions that were sent in. When I say a couple, I mean a lot. I know it's an extremely important week. It is must win for everyone, so don't worry. You don't have to mention that. I am, of course, aware of the nature of what Week 14 brings. And every week from here on out is going to be must win. But from my perspective, every week is a must win because that's just how fantasy football works. You always want to be winning. And let's get into this, shall we? All right, Joseph Myers sends in the first question for today. He says, let's go ahead and scroll actually back up here. Okay. Would you flex Julio Jones over OBJ in a full PPR? This week I would. Look, I love OBJ, especially considering I'm a Rams fan. His contributions in the first 2 weeks of his arrival, of course, have been great, or the last 2 weeks of his arrival have been great, scoring a touchdown. But I mean, listen, if he doesn't score a touchdown in that, in last week's game, if he doesn't have that big touchdown against the Green Bay Packers, of course, we're in a little bit of a tough stretch of games there for OBJ. I think Julio Jones being the literal only, dependable option in that offense, and a healthy Julio Jones at that, that's who I'm going to trust this week. So that's where I'm going to go. Also, another question that Joseph Meyer sent in says, with Deebo back, safer to play Julio or Jeff Wilson Jr.? In a full PPR scoring format, I think it may be safer to play the wide receiver, but in my opinion, I would honestly just play Jeff Wilson. I think even with Debo back, there may be a possibility where they want to kind of limit his opportunities. And even if he does get rushing attempts, there's a possibility where, Debo's getting the yardage, and then eventually they're bringing in Jeff Wilson to just be the hammer on the goal line and just punching him in. So I'll take Jeff Wilson and Debo if you're, in this regard, I would go ahead and play Jeff Wilson this weekend if you have the opportunity to do so. I love Julio, but at this point, Jeff Wilson just seems like he has a pretty premium opportunity for the 49ers backfield. Thank you, Joseph. Appreciate it. All right, moving on. Cornell sends in a question. Says, start 3, we have Nick Chubb, David Montgomery, James Conner, and Sony Michel. All right, so just want to go ahead and reiterate. In this regard, everything on screen would be my answer. So for this specific question, with those 4 running backs that I just mentioned, Chubb, Montgomery, Conner, and Sony Michel, for those of you who are wondering where I would go, it would go as such. When we look up and down the list, David Montgomery is at number 9, Sony Michel and Nick Chubb are at 10 and 11. So boom, 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 boom. I mean, just like a domino effect. Those are the 3 that currently maintain my highest priority, followed by James Conner, who sits at the number 14 spot. So I would go ahead and unfortunately sit James Conner, though I love his contribution every single week, with the looming possibility that Chase Edmonds may return this week. And of course, the fact that he plays against the Rams, who have been the best run-stop defense over the last 6 weeks of the season, giving up the fewest yards per carry average. I think the other 3 options that you currently have are better. So that's what I would go with, Cornell. Thank you. FF sends in a question, says, Standard League, I have Mike Williams starting, MVS or Jalen Guyton in my flex. Start Alex Collins or Rashad Penny as my running back. All right, so if we're to go ahead and just straight up pick, I do prefer Marquez Valdes-Scantling over Jalen Guyton, mainly because I think Marquez Valdes-Scantling's opportunity is pretty much guaranteed in the idea that he's got 19 targets in the last 2 games, and we have Randall Cobb out this week. Now, Randall Cobb does not play the same position as him, but when you have another one of these safety blanket receivers out for Aaron Rodgers, he continues to go back to guys that he's more comfortable with. Marquez Valdes-Scantling obviously getting a higher percentage of snaps than majority of the other guys outside of Devontae Adams. So I would go with MVS there in the flex position. As for starting one of the 2 Seattle Seahawks running backs, I do prefer Rashad Penny this weekend. Is it by a wide margin? Absolutely not. Wait, what am I saying? No. Well, okay, hold up. Scratch that. Misspoke. I do prefer Alex Collins, but not by a large margin, mainly because Alex Collins has the experience of already being the starter in this offense. So I'm anticipating that, Pete Carroll is going to give him the overall majority of touches and give him the goal line carries, because that is pretty much the role that he has served over the last couple weeks. Now, if Rashad Penny is to win the job, he certainly will have the opportunity to do so. They're going to split the carries probably 50-50, and that's why I have him back-to-back in my rankings. But yes, I did misspeak. I do have Alex Collins 1 slot ahead of Rashad Penny, and that's mainly because he's been the starter as of late. And though he's been injured, there is no Adrian Peterson, and Alex Collins should return to being the starter there. But we'll see how it goes for right now. All right, thank you very much, FF. Appreciate it. All right, Courtney sends in a question. It says, start 2 out of the 3 for an RB2 and a flex. In the PPR scoring format, we have Sony Michel, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Tyler Lockett. All right, I think Sony Michel pretty much automatically makes himself a starter based on last week's performance and the fact that the Arizona Cardinals, as of late, have definitely struggled in terms of stopping the run. Of course, that's kind of been a downhill tilt for that defense since J.J. Watt's absence due to the injury that he sustained. So where does this kind of leave us in this current situation? It's between Tyler Lockett and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If Clyde Edwards does not score a touchdown, which he very easily should be able to do so, then he'd probably be a lesser play, because the ability of Tyler Lockett being able to get himself 60-plus yards, a handful of catches, he could very easily get to that 10-point margin. But I also think that there's a potential in which Clyde Edwards can do so. Let me actually go pull up. Where's my flex rankings here? Where did I put them earlier this morning when I was ranking these suckers? Where do we have Clyde Edwards? Clyde Edwards says is my number 36 overall and we have Tyler Lockett at 29. All right, that's what we're going to go with right now. So that's what I would suggest. I would probably go Tyler Lockett. I mean, the main idea is you want the guaranteed points, and then you want the obvious upside. And I think you could certainly get that with Tyler Lockett. I think you can certainly get it with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but the fact that Darrell Williams is still in that backfield and succeeding as much as he is as of late, it does kind of limit the potential and potential upside of a Clyde Edwards. So we're going Sony Michel and we're going Tyler Lockett. Thank you very much, Courtney. Matt sends in a question, says PPR pick 2. We have Reynolds, we have Robbie Anderson, we have Allen Robinson, we have Nick Westbrook, and we have Traquan. Holy moly. We're in a tough position here, huh? If I was to start 2 out of that group of 5 or 6 wide receivers, I'm playing Josh Reynolds and I'm playing Allen Robinson. Yeah, those are my 2 suggestions there. Mainly because Jared Goff's going to have very limited options to throw the ball to. Of course, Josh Reynolds, he already has that comfortability with him and a rapport. So he'd probably continue to go back to that well. And I think Allen Robinson this week, Robbie Anderson, not really trustworthy all season long. I know they're changing their offensive coordinator. Doesn't really make me change my mind in that regard. Nick Westbrook could play second fiddle to Julio Jones at a pretty wide margin there. And Traquan Smith doesn't really, move the needle for me. I would think that maybe Deontay Harris could have an opportunity of doing so, but Traquan doesn't really. So I'd go with A-Rob and Reynolds there. Thank you, Matt. All right, Ray Suarez sends in a question. It says Denver's defense versus the Lions or Saints defense versus the Jets? Great question. All right, I'm going to go ahead and let everybody know what my top 12 defenses are on the week, because we typically do this every weekend just so we can go ahead and just get it underway. I know how many people are in here right now. We got about 500 of you. Okay, cool. So if everybody could, please click the like button down below, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk about my top 12 defenses. Top 12 defenses for the remaining teams, of course. Here we go. So my number 1 defense on the week will be the New Orleans Saints, followed by Denver Broncos, followed by Green Bay Packers, Los Angeles Chargers, Tennessee Titans, Seattle Seahawks, Carolina Panthers, Dallas Cowboys, Kansas City Chiefs, San Francisco 49ers, Baltimore Ravens, Cleveland Browns. That is the order from number 1 to number 12. Those are the defenses that I want to go ahead and have on roster and potentially starting today. I know some of the better defenses like Arizona, Los Angeles Rams, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Buffalo Bills, they're all playing against each other, and those should be relatively higher scoring events. That's why I don't have them mentioned today, because I don't expect those defenses to have incredible upside in comparison to some of these others. Like, again, Saints playing against the Jets, Broncos playing against the Detroit Lions, Packers playing against the Bears, Chargers taking on Mike Glennon and the Giants, Tennessee versus a completely shambled and honestly, they got to fire Urban Meyer after the stuff that I heard this weekend. Jacksonville Jaguars, of course, Seattle taking on Davis Mills, another rookie quarterback. Matt Ryan hasn't played well against Carolina in the last couple of years. That's another great defense to play. So anyway, I'm glad you asked that question, Ray Suarez. I would be playing the Saints defense over Denver's this week against the Jets. So that's my suggestion. Thank you. Alrighty, going to the next question. Paul sends in a question, says, full PPR, Bucks, Bills, Patriots defense for the rest of the season. I do prefer the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense rest of the season. I think their matchups are great. As for your next question, I can only roster 1 defense in this league. I blew my fab last week, and I need to pick them up this week for the rest of the season. Yeah, I would legitimately go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I really do think that their upside rest of the season is great. And that's typically when a team at that caliber is going to probably lock it in and start putting up some great performances here. So that's my suggestion. Thank you very much. Moving on. Mark Merchant sends in a question. Mark's question is, in the flex position, half PPR, can you rank which would you go with? Schultz, Hooper, Moreau, Darrell Williams, or Ty Johnson are in consideration? All right, great question. So I think overall, I'm not really playing Darrell Williams. I'm not playing Foster Moreau. It's between Schultz, Hooper, and Ty Johnson. So in this current capacity, I'm thinking to myself, do I trust Ty Johnson enough in a half PPR, considering he takes on the New Orleans Saints? Probably not. So he pretty much already eliminates himself unless he's going to score a touchdown, which again, the likelihood of that is continuing to drop as we have Elijah Moore and Corey Davis both out for, I would say probably the remainder of the season due to their injuries, and the offense of the Jets are going to have a hard time potentially moving the ball today. So Ty Johnson, though there is no Tevin Coleman and Michael Carter in that backfield, doesn't really do much for me in that regard. So it's Schultz or Hooper. I currently prefer Dalton Schultz against the Washington football team. I think Hooper's a great play, certainly, as you guys have heard me mention that via Hidden Gems yesterday. With no David Njoku and no Harrison Bryant today, Hooper is going to have a boatload of opportunity against the defense that has been known to give up some points to the tight end position, and in an offense like the Cleveland Browns that heavily utilize tight ends, target their tight ends this season 30% of the time. It's almost like 31% target share. So yeah, right now I'm going to go Schultz, but Hooper would be a close second there. Thank you very much, Mark. Noah sends in a question, says, Hubbard, Jeff Wilson, T. Higgins, start two in a standard league. Man, as much as I'd love to, I typically would want to start both running backs. And I think as much as I want to do that, I think I might have to just start Hubbard and T. Higgins. Now, I'm going to go ahead and explain to you guys why. I've gone ahead and I've adjusted my rankings for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins in comparison to what I had it on Wednesday. So as of, let me go ahead and read this. So as of today, we have two starting cornerbacks for the San Francisco 49ers out. Emmanuel Mosley is not going to play due to an injury that he sustained last week. And Dante Jackson, another starting cornerback for this defense, he is also not going to play. It's not injury related. I think it's a personal matter, but regardless, he's also going to be out. When you have two of those potential players out this week, it continues to just give more opportunity for respective wide receivers against that defense. Of course, earlier this week, I think Joe Burrow was not given an injury designation. So as long as he's healthy or relatively healthy, and his two wide receivers are Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on the outsides against a backup secondary in terms of corners, I think there's a lot of potential for those receivers to have themselves some success. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with Chuba Hubbard and roll with the second option of T. Higgins. Thank you. All right, moving on. We have Jake St. Paul sending in a question. Standard league, Devonta Freeman or T. Higgins? I think it's a very similar conversation. I think Devonta Freeman certainly has himself upside, similar to a Chuba Hubbard. But in this regard, I still think I'm going to go with T. Higgins. I think he's got a lot of potential. He's obviously proven 100-plus receiving yards each of the last 2 weeks, and also accompanied those performances with a touchdown. If he's able to do, just the yardage itself, he could very easily, in a standard format, compete with these other guys. And the touchdown upside certainly can be there based on what I just relatively told you guys. So I'm going to go with T. Higgins there again. Thank you very much, Jake. Let's see here. The next question belongs to, where the heck did it go? All right, my whole system is starting to backfire on me. All right, next question goes to stock strategies. Let's go ahead. Let's scroll up here. Again, do not forget, I want to remind you guys, there's about 750 of you in here. As of everything that is on screen, it is updated 12/12/2021 this morning. So I do have updated rankings. These rankings do not include any of the players from Thursday's games. I've eliminated them so that we can go ahead and have more players available to rank for you guys. Top 36 running backs, top 36 wide receivers, top 16 quarterbacks, top 16 tight ends. Quarterbacks in a 4-point per passing touchdown league, everybody else in a half PPR scoring format. So if you're wondering as to which players you should start in each respective position, this will kind of give you guys an idea. Thank you very much. So if you have a question in that regard, just look to the screen ahead and you should be able to find the answer. Thank you. All right. Stock strategy says right now, I have Mixon as my RB1. Great. He's expected to play, so I'm going to fire him up. Montgomery as my RB2. Adams as my wide receiver 1. Debo as my wide receiver 2. And I have one flex position with Mike Evans, T. Higgins, and Saquon available. Who would you play? I'm on the T. Higgins train. I really am at this point. I think, in a full PPR scoring format, I think T. Higgins is a better play than in a Mike Evans. In a half PPR scoring format, when there's less receptions to be had, Mike Evans certainly probably dominates that conversation. But in a full PPR scoring format, I'd rather play T. Higgins over Mike Evans and Saquon Barkley. That is my suggestion. Let's go T. Higgins this week's stock strategies. Thank you. Let's see here. Dave Ports, 1, says full PPR. Cole Kmet at the tight end position. Mooney, Shepard, or Judy for the flex. Okay, so if we have all 4 of those potential options for the flex position this week, I'm going to go ahead and suggest playing Jerry Jeudy against the Detroit Lions secondary. I think it's going to be a very advantageous matchup for him. The next best option would be Mooney, but I do think that Jerry Jeudy, in my opinion, this week in a full PPR scoring format is the better option. Thank you very much, Dave Ports. Steven sends in a question, says, Andrew, I'm in trouble. I have Keenan Allen and Adam Thielen out this week. Yep. All I have left is Darnell Mooney and Tyler Boyd. Any better streaming options? To be honest, I think Darnell Mooney is a great play. Don't get it twisted. With Justin Fields back in the lineup, Justin Fields is certainly going to be looking in the direction of Darnell Mooney, as that is pretty much his safety blanket. Not only that, the ability for Darnell Mooney to pull second cornerback coverage is most likely what we're going to see with Jair Alexander back. Typically, you wouldn't want to see Darnell Mooney pulling his coverage, but Allen Robinson on the other side of the field, he's going to keep him distracted. He's a talented enough wide receiver to still succeed through that. But nonetheless, I think Darnell Mooney, a great overall option. Last time when he played against the Green Bay Packers earlier this season with Justin Fields at quarterback, had himself a pretty good game, scored a touchdown, and as of late has shown a consistency to get himself pretty good performances despite the lack of touches. At least the target counts have been there, which I'm hoping is going to continue. I think Darnell Mooney's a fantastic play. Tyler Boyd I wouldn't trust because he doesn't have a consistent resume of production. If he had produced, 2 out of the last 3 weeks, I'd have a little bit more confidence in that regard. But for right now, Darnell Mooney over the last month has been a great overall option. Thank you, Steven. All right, let's hear. Kwan sends in a question. Says, Hilliard or Melvin Gordon this week? I would play Melvin Gordon. Despite the fact that Javonte Williams is probably, just going to dominate that Detroit defense as a whole, I still think that Melvin Gordon is going to get his opportunities. And with that, going to probably succeed based on the fact that, it is Detroit's defense. And whenever a good offense, especially with their 2 offensive tackles back for the second consecutive week here, of course, Garrett Bowles, and I forget the right tackle's name. I think it's Bobby Massey for the Denver Broncos. With them back, they're in a pretty good position to go ahead and run through that defense. I see that some of you are saying Pollard is out. We'll go ahead and adjust that once we catch up on some of these questions. But again, if you know that Pollard's out, then he'll have the designation. You won't have him in the lineup, so do not worry about it. Let's see here. Brandon Diaz sends in a question. Says flex full PPR. We're playing Melvin Gordon, Devontae Freeman, Brandon Ayuk, or Zach Ertz. I'm going to go Devontae Freeman there. I think Freeman's probably the best option. I do like Melvin Gordon. I do like Brandon Ayuk, Zach Ertz, but to be honest, I think Devontae Freeman has the highest upside for a touchdown. And the fact that he got himself 8 targets this last week could continue to build and increase his overall floor of production in a full PPR scoring format, which gives me the confidence to play him over these other options. So Devontae Freeman, Brandon, is my suggestion. Thank you very much. All right, next question. Landon Dickerson says, full PPR, pick 2, Odell Beckham, Gallup, Crowder. I think that Jamison Crowder is on the cusp of potentially getting the nod. I mean, look, there really isn't anybody else to throw the ball to, but it's the Jets offense. And for some reason, it scares me to an extent to where I just don't want to trust anything that's going on over there, even though it is a relatively good matchup against the New Orleans Saints. But for right now, I'm going to go with Michael Gallup and OBJ, who have been great as of the last 2 weeks plus. So, Landon, that's my 2 suggestions, OBJ, Gallup. Thank you. Paul sends in a question, says, from earlier question, I'm in first place at 10-3, thanks. Let me go and scroll back up. Let's see what the earlier question was in regards to, so that we're 100%. Yeah, you're good. I mean, I'm still looking to try to, ride the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense rest of season for the fantasy playoffs. So yeah, you should be good to go. Congratulations, Paul, on having such a successful regular season. That's great. All right, Phil sends in a question. Says, morning, Andrew. Good morning to all of you. I need help with a full PPR league. Running backs, we have to pick 2 of them: Jacobs, Connor, Gordon, and Darrell Williams. All right, so overall, I mean, I'm looking at this list and I'm thinking to myself, we got 2 automatic plays here, Phil. We have Jacobs, we have Connor. Regardless of scoring format, they are the 2, far most preferred running backs. Jacobs is even better than he has been in weeks past in terms of his overall value. With Ken and Drake out, we saw Jacobs catch the ball literally 9 times last week. If you can continue to see that kind of opportunity go in his direction, especially in a matchup where I anticipate them to be down for majority of the game, Jacobs is a great play. Of course, James Conner, I think he's amongst the top in the league, top 3 in terms of overall running back touchdowns with 14 this season, 12 on the ground, 2 through the air. And I think he's just an automatic play in that regard. Certainly better than the other 2 options you mentioned. So Jacobs, Conner, thank you. Eat Powder says, PPR, Schultz, Crowder, or MVS in the flex position? Thanks. Really good question. I think most likely in a full PPR scoring format between Schultz, Crowder, MVS, I think Crowder's probably safest play. I like Schultz, but pretty much his baseline of production is maybe getting himself like 4 or 5 catches, 40, 50 yards. So you'll most likely get 9 points out of Schultz. Fairly certain you can get that. He certainly has touchdown upside, so you can maybe bank on the idea of getting like 8 to 9 points to potentially turn into 14 points in a full PPR scoring format. But I think you could very easily do the same with Jamison Crowder and maybe even get more receptions, considering that overall number could end up being 7, 8, 9 receptions and pretty much the similar amount of yardage. And then maybe a garbage time touchdown. So I'm right now thinking Jamison Crowder, assuming nobody scores a touchdown out of the 3 here, is the safest play of the bunch. So that's where I'm going to suggest right now. Eat powder. Thank you. Let's hear. Alexander Grass sends in a question. Says, I'm in a standard league with 2 options to pick from. Okay, here we go. So we have Gallup, we have Gage, we have Foreman, Hubbard, Sony Michel. Also, should I rock Lamar or Burrow? Thank you. No problem. Glad to help, Alex. All right, so here is my thought process. In a standard league in which you don't get any points per reception, the 2 options that I would pick from the bunch that you mentioned is Sony Michel and Chuba Hubbard. Those are my 2 suggestions for sure. As for Lamar Jackson versus Burrow, I'm still rolling with Lamar Jackson. In a 4-point per passing touchdown league, the ability to find rushing yardage from your quarterback, that value just continues to rise. I think, yes, the last time he played against Cleveland was a little bit of a fluke. I don't think Lamar Jackson's throwing 4 interceptions once again against that defense this week. So Lamar's my suggestion there. Thank you. Goofy Gibbon says, sit 1, A.J. Dillon, Russell Gage, Van Jefferson, Devonta Freeman. If we're sitting 1 in a half PPR scoring format, I'm thinking it's probably going to be A.J. Dillon. I'm going to probably play Russell Gage, Jefferson, and Devonta Freeman. If it's a full PPR, that continues to solidify my idea of just playing Gage, Jefferson, and Freeman. I think Dillon is going to go back to being the secondary role, probably get himself like 10 to 12 touches today. But if he's not able to score a touchdown, it's going to be extremely difficult for him to compete with guys like Russell Gage, Van Jefferson, getting themselves, nearly 10 targets per game for the last couple of weeks, and Devonta Freeman, who's, as of the last 6 weeks of the season, been the number 13 overall running back in fantasy. Thank you very much, Goofy. That's my suggestion. All right. Cody sends in a question, says, Crowder or MVS in the flex, half PPR format? Thanks, buddy. No problem. All right. So as you guys can see on screen, I'll go ahead and reiterate. The rankings are on the screen as of this morning. I know we have to go ahead and fix Tony Pollard. Is this 100% confirmation? Because prior to getting on stream, I didn't see anything about him. I know he was a game time quote unquote decision, but if they've gone ahead and designated him to be out, then we're good to go. I'll go ahead and eliminate him from the list and move another player up. NFL Ian Rappaport's reports he will not. Okay, Tony Pollard will not be playing. Great. So what I'll go ahead and do is I'm going to fire up my Photoshop. I'll go ahead and correct the rankings on screen. Again, everything on screen is going to be up to date. So if you have a question in regards to which tight end to play, which running back to play, quarterback, wide receiver, etc., then the screen will help you answer that question pretty easily. Thank you very much. Again, I do appreciate you guys coming out today. If you guys could, please click the like button down below. Certainly helps the channel out a lot. I can assure you that the metrics and everything in that regard in terms of boosting the algorithm for YouTube certainly makes a difference. All right, so we'll go ahead and we need to close this tab and this one. So we're going to go ahead and eliminate Tony Pollard from the rankings list here. And we'll move up. Who's the next running back on the list after Darrell Williams? Devin Singletary. Alrighty, so Devin Singletary goes there. Tony Pollard is out. And with Tony Pollard out, Zeke, in my mind, is probably going to still stay that spot because I had an idea that even if Tony Pollard played, he'd be limited to a capacity. So I think we're still good to go there. And boom. All right, cool. Let's file, save. In about, I'd say, 15 to 20 seconds here, the graphic on screen will update. And if and when it does, or more like when it does, it will have no Tony Pollard, and it will have Devin Singletary as my number 36 running back, as I have eliminated Pollard from the list and moved everyone subsequently up 1 spot. So that should be reflected on screen right, I believe, now. And if that isn't the case, I will be shocked and surprised, but I believe it should be the case. Let's go ahead and close my Photoshop here and go back to the stream, and that is the case. All right, perfect. Great. Continuing on with the questions that have been sent in. Flight Zone Music says, Schultz or Penny in a flex position PPR? I would play Dalton Schultz. Thank you very much, Flight Zone. Phil sends in another question. Says, still full PPR. Andrew, we have the wide receiver position. We need to pick 2 of them and potentially play a flex here. Okay, we have Cooper Kupp, Hunter Renfrow, Jerry Jeudy, Emmanuel Sanders, Rashad Bateman, Cortland Sutton. I'm suggesting Cooper Kupp, Hunter Renfrow, Jerry Jeudy. You're good to go, Phil. Play the 3 best receivers you have. There's a potential in which Courtland Sutton could have himself a good game this week, but in terms of consistency, Cooper, Renfrow, Jerry Jeudy, they present that to you, unlike the other receiver options that you have. Thank you. All right, Phil sends in another question. Phil, wait, is that another question? Why isn't it? Oh, it is here. Okay, cool. Sends another question. So I got the Titans defense. Matt Gay at the kicker for the Los Angeles Rams, and I'm streaming Dalton Schultz. Man, this Waller injury is killing me. Not a ton of work with, not a ton to work with at the tight end position. I mean, look, the fact that you're able to play Dalton Schultz, you're in a pretty advantageous position. I mean, you could be playing Evan Ingram this week and just completely struggling. So I think you're at a pretty good spot playing Dalton Schultz. So don't worry about it. Titans defense, one of my top 6. Matt Gay, I think he's my number 2 kicker on the week. You're good to go there, Phil. Thank you. Leo sends it a question. Says, full PPR. Need an RB2 in a flex. We have Freeman, Hunt, and Crowder. All right, so I think Devontae Freeman is the automatic play at the running back position there for your RB2. But in comparison from Kareem Hunt and Jamison Crowder, do I want to play a Jamison Crowder in a full PPR? I think I'm going to play Kareem Hunt there. Man, I just have a feeling that the Cleveland Browns offense is going to be much improved since the last time we saw them prior to their bye week. I think they probably took the fact that they ran the ball with Nick Chubb 8 times for 16 yards pretty personally, as that pretty much identifies them. I mean, their identity as a football team is a run-first team. That's how they succeed. And the fact that they weren't able to do that successfully, I think they'll come back. It'll be another week under Kareem Hunt's belt. I'm going with both those running backs there, Leo. Thank you. All right, Terry Rice says, half PPR. Need 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, and a flex. Okay, we have Kareem Hunt, Devonta Freeman, Donta Foreman, Jeff Wilson Jr., Van Jefferson, and Brandon Ayuk. Okay, so at your wide receiver position, I'm playing Van Jefferson. At your running back positions, I'm suggesting Devonta Freeman and Jeff Wilson Jr. So then the question is, what are we playing in the flex position? Of the available running backs, it is between Kareem Hunt and, of course, Donta Foreman, followed with Brandon Ayuk. Do I feel comfortable playing them over Brandon Ayuk? Yeah, I do. So let's go ahead and play. Okay, so we're going to go Freeman, Van Jefferson, Foreman. Those are my suggestions. Thank you very much. Alif sends in a question. Says, full PPR, Freeman, Foreman, Hilliard, and Pitts or Schultz. Okay, so Pitts or Schultz, I'm going to play Schultz this week. As for Freeman, Foreman, and Hilliard, I'm playing Devonta Freeman. Thank you very much, Alif. Appreciate it. PT Morris says, need a wide receiver 3. Sterling Shepard, Josh Palmer, or Allen Robinson. I'm going to play Sterling Shepard there. Thank you very much. Then flex Jeff Wilson or A.J. Dillon. I'm going to play Jeff Wilson Jr. there. So my 2 suggestions again, PT Morris, Shepard, Wilson. Thank you very much. Dustin sends in a question. Says, pick 3, full PPR. DeAndre Hopkins, Jamar Chase, Sony Michel, CEH. In a full PPR scoring format, I would play D-Hop, Chase, and Sony Michel. Thank you very much, Dustin. Let's see here. The next question after Dustin is that Vietnamese guy says, Jerry Jeudy or Gallup, and Pitts or Knox. Okay, I'm going to play Knox over Pitts. I'm going to play Jerry Jeudy over Gallup. Those are my 2 suggestions. So Knox, Jeudy, thank you very much. Next is Jonathan McMaster. Jonathan, there wasn't a question attached to your donation. Let me see if I can find it. All right, here we go. It says, I'm way down bad. Laviska Shenault or Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm playing Amon-Ra St. Brown. Laviska Shenault has no business even being mentioned in this regard. Amon-Ra is your suggestion. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Just wanted to go ahead and reiterate because I do see a couple questions in the chat in regards to defense. I'll go ahead and repeat myself because I know a lot of you weren't in the chat. In regards to which defenses I like this week, I'm going to go ahead and talk about my top 12 in order via rankings. Okay, here we go. My top 12 defenses for this week begins and ends. Here we go. New Orleans Saints, Denver Broncos, Green Bay Packers, Los Angeles Chargers, Tennessee Titans, Seattle Seahawks, Carolina Panthers, Dallas Cowboys, Kansas City Chiefs, San Francisco 49ers, Baltimore Ravens, Cleveland Browns. Thank you very much. All righty, let's see here. Back to the questions. After Jonathan, we have Cheesy Bread 305 says Javonte Williams or Sony Michel half PPR. As you can see on screen, I prefer Sony Michel. I think Javonte Williams obviously had a monster week last week, but the implementation of Melvin Gordon back in this offense certainly does, I would say, make him a little bit of a lesser play, which is why I want to go ahead and play Sony Michel, who has the backfield all to himself in a great matchup as well. James Joyner says, full PPR, pick one, Hunt, Michel, Jeff Wilson. Kareem Hunt is a great option. So is Jeff Wilson, but I mean, the ranking on screen for Sony Michel says it all. I believe he's a fantastic top 12 running back play this week. Should be started as such. The Goomba says, TB12 or Josh Allen this week, half PPR. Thanks, brother. Listen, I think TB12, he has himself his experience against that defense. I'm just thinking to myself, every team that has relatively succeeded against the Buffalo Bills, as of late specifically, have ran the ball and kept the ball away from Josh Allen, because we know that defense is not going to be one that can stop the run. I mean, let's think about it. Like Matt Milano, one of their better linebackers, he used to play safety in college, right? They're not a bigger football team. They're not a downhill defensive football team. They're more finesse, right? They want to pretty much choke you out with coverage and get coverage sacks and all this kind of jazz. But with that all said, I do prefer Josh Allen. The rushing ability, on top of the fact that I think he has a better matchup in terms of facing that respective Tampa Bay defense, is my suggestion. I do think TB12 is a fantastic play, but I think Leonard Fournette is going to be the story for today in regards to just pounding the rock and finding success there. I mean, of course, we saw the New England Patriots not have to even pass the ball more than 3 or 4 times in that game, and we saw Jonathan Taylor a couple weeks back go for 50 fantasy points because all they had to do was run the ball on Buffalo. Thank you. Mike Jimenez sends in a question. Full PPR, Chuba Hubbard, Dontrell Hilliard, or Jeff Wilson Jr. I'm going to suggest Chuba Hubbard, then Jeff Wilson, then Hilliard in that exact order. So Chuba is my suggestion right now. Thank you. Next question is from, let's see here. I got to scroll back up. The End Zone. Great name. All right. The question is, my running backs are Sony Michel, James Robinson, Jeff Wilson Jr., Devonta Freeman. Which two should I start? And should I put one in my flex? Currently, it's Amari Cooper. I think Amari Cooper's in a pretty good position to stay in your flex position. I would probably just play Sony Michel and Devonta Freeman and leave Amari Cooper in the flex. That's my suggestion. Thank you very much, Endzone. Appreciate the donation and support. All right, moving on. Chris sends in a question. Start 3, half PPR, Debo, Michel, Lockett, Van, and Landry. If we're starting 3 out of this group of 5 players, I'm playing Debo Samuel, Sony Michel, and Tyler Lockett. Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate it. Doza sends in a question. Says start 2, Melvin Gordon, Jamison Crowder, Cole Beasley, Donta Foreman, full PPR scoring format. In a full PPR, I want to lean in the direction of those wide receivers. And I think I might. I think I just might. I think Donta Foreman's a great play, especially against Jacksonville. Man, it just makes it that much more difficult, huh? I think I just don't want to get burnt by these wide receivers. That's my issue. All right, so this is my suggestion. I'm thinking Donta Foreman's the best play of the bunch. If you follow Donta Foreman, with Beasley or Crowder, I'm probably going to go Beasley there. So yeah, I'm going to go Foreman and Beasley. I could very easily, in the same breath, play Crowder and Beasley and just be fine with it, trying to get like the 10 points. But I'm thinking Foreman has more of that, more than just 10 points in the tank. I think he could very easily be the goal line back of this team, find a lot of success against a defense like Jacksonville, who certainly will be giving up some points this week, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm going to go Beasley and Foreman there. Thank you, Doza. Appreciate it. Justin sends in a question. I'm dealing with bye weeks and injuries. That's a tough scene, especially in week 14, but it is the reality of the situation. I picked up Marquez Valdez-Scantling and the Lions running back Jermar Jefferson. Who should I start in the flex? Full PPR, need a big playoffs. I would suggest MVS. I don't know if there's anything guaranteed about the Lions backfield, especially this week, considering the fact that they take on the Denver Broncos. I think there's a very good chance of just playing MVS, hoping that you get a couple catches. Maybe he scores a touchdown. Maybe he has that big play ability like we always see him have, and get himself over 10 fantasy points for sure. While Jefferson, there's just no guarantee that he is going to have the bulk of the work, much less any work that may be involved in that offense. So for right now, I'm going MVS. Thank you. Jakey A says, how do you feel about Donovan Peoples-Jones this week? I mean, I think he's a great option, especially considering there is no Marlon Humphreys for the Baltimore Ravens any longer. I mean, that Baltimore Ravens team is just an injured reserve, just mess. That is just unfortunate nature of their season. But am I trusting Donovan Peoples-Jones enough to where I'm starting him? Probably not over this top 36. Probably not even in my top 40, mainly because we've seen some inconsistencies there, especially from Baker, much less he himself, Donovan Peoples-Jones, who, again, he's been hurt, I know, as of late, and could certainly come back and be a great play, but I'm a little concerned there. So there's a lot of volatility, a lot of potential for an upsetting performance on our part, but I don't mind it, especially considering the matchup could be great this week. Thank you, Jakey. Final sends in a question, says, Crowder or Gallup in a PPR? I'd go with Gallup there. Also, Dak or Hill, higher ceiling. Higher ceiling overall, I still think that Dak Prescott probably has the higher. I mean, look, when you're able to run the ball for 100 yards against the Dallas Cowboys in the way that Taysom Hill did, Taysom Hill most likely, okay, let me think about this. In a 4-point per passing touchdown league, technically, the higher ceiling does belong to Taysom Hill, because it would require Dak to throw 4 to 5 touchdowns to even get remotely close to the ceiling that Taysom Hill is capable of accomplishing. So in that regard, sure, Taysom Hill has the higher ceiling. And if that's your question, so be it. Otherwise, I'm suggesting Dak as the quarterback play this week. Thank you. Stock Strategy says, forgot to say I have Zeke on my bench. For my RB2, am I going Zeke, Montgomery, or Saquon in a full PPR? Oh, great question. I mean, I'm probably going Montgomery there. But I think Zeke's got to be in your lineup somehow, some way. What was your prior question, Stock? Let me go find it right now. So it says Mixon, Montgomery, Adams. Oh, okay. So basically the question should be like, are we playing Zeke or Higgins in the flex? Which then I would probably say I honestly might play Zeke there in a full PPR now that Pollard is fully out. Yeah, I'm probably playing Zeke in your flex. As much as I like Higgins there, I mean, I really do like Higgins. I think it may be just safer in a full PPR to go with Zeke. The guy's been catching the ball about 4 times per week over the last 6 weeks here. So there's a lot of opportunity for him to probably have himself a great performance here. Guaranteed touches, to say the very least. But yeah, I know that wasn't your question, but that's kind of where I turned it to. Stock Strategies. Thank you very much. All right. Jorge Perez sent in a question. Let me see if I can find it. There was a donation sent in, but there wasn't a message attached to it, Jorge. So I'm going to try to loop back around and try to see if you typed anything in the chat. My F3 function doesn't find anything. So if you could type something in the chat right now, that'd be great. Thank you. All right. Samir sends in a question. It says Standard League. Kamara and Mixon are my RB1 and 2s. Pick one for the flex. We have Chuba Hubbard or T. Higgins. If we're picking one, I'm playing T. Higgins. Thank you. Danny Show says Cordero Patterson is a wide receiver. Cordero Patterson is a wide receiver in my in my half PPR league. Should I play him or Godwin? I'm already playing Kupp and Justin Jefferson. Cordero Patterson or Godwin? I think I'm oh man, I love both these guys. In a half PPR scoring format, I'm most likely playing Cordero Patterson. If I'm not mistaken, let me go find my flex rankings here. I think I might even have him. Let's see here. Yeah, I have Cordero Patterson 4 spots ahead of Godwin in my half PPR flex rankings. So yeah, I'm going Cordero there. Thank you. Next question goes to Kuchihan Louihan. Thank you very much. Says Andrew, on the line this week, pick 3 full PPR: David Montgomery, Chubb, Lenny, or T. Higgins. Need this win. What you think? All right, so I think Leonard Fournette is an automatic play there. I think followed by that we have David Montgomery, who is an automatic play. So those are the 2 running backs that I first and foremost love. Then it's a matter of whether or not I'm playing T. Higgins or Nick Chubb. In a full PPR, man, I mean, it's going to kill me to say that I don't. Oh, man. I think I have to play Nick Chubb there. I think T. Higgins is so damn good, though. I just don't want to leave Nick Chubb on the bench. All right. In a vacuum, I think I'm probably playing T. Higgins. I think the PPR format is what leans me over towards the side of T. Higgins. That's where I'm going to go. So I go Lenny, T. Higgins, and David Montgomery. I don't feel great about it because I love Nick Chubb, and leaving him on the bench just feels wrong, but it is what it is. That's the scenario we live in. All right. CB says, are you worried about Debo on a snap count? Playing Cam Newton over Jimmy G hopefully gets all 4 quarters in. Yeah, this is my concern. A couple things that I wanted to mention before the stream ended. Today, the Carolina Panthers have both of their offensive guards out. Their starting offensive guards are both out and not playing. So their offensive line has already been garbage this year. And not only that, their starters, who are supposed to be the best guards on their respective team, are both out. Cam Newton could either be next level today, or he could be completely garbage, just like with the last time we saw him against Miami. There's a very good possibility of it. Let's hope that Newton survives long enough to see the fourth quarter. Outside of that, am I worried about Debo? I mean, look, I don't think they would play him if he was on a snap count. If he had to be on a snap count, they would most likely leave him inactive and just continue on. But the fact that we're in a scenario in which we have, Debo Samuel active this week, I think he's in my lineup, especially considering there's no Elijah Mitchell. Leads me to believe he's going to be running the ball out of the backfield as well. All right. John Richardson in the chat typed, L'Jarius Sneed is inactive. Must start Hunter Renfrow. Yeah, Hunter Renfrow. I mean, if that's the slot corner, if I'm not mistaken, let's go find it. I mean, are the inactive lists just like flying out right now? I think it should be. I mean, it's 8:46. But yeah, it certainly does help his scenario. SoFlo, 2IS says, start 3 flex full PPR. Javonte Williams, Sony Michel, Dawson Knox, James Conner, Zeke, or Terry McLaurin. If I'm starting 3 out of that group, I'm playing Javonte, Sony Michel, and Zeke. Thank you very much, SoFlo. Appreciate it. Matthew Schultz sends in a question. Says Devonta Freeman, Julio Jones with no A.J. Brown, full PPR. I'm playing Freeman there. Thank you, Matthew. I appreciate that. Let's see here. There will be no Metcalf slander in this chat. How dare you? Gage Murdoch says, half PPR, pick 2, Freeman, Jeff Wilson Jr., Crowder, Van Jefferson. I'm playing both running backs in a half PPR. I'm playing Freeman and Jeff Wilson. Thank you very much. Moving on to Tommy Hennessy says, I have to use Westbrook, Keenan, because Moore is out. I also, I have to use Renfrow because A.J. Brown. Are you okay with those options? Like we just mentioned in regards to Hunter Renfrow. Look, Hunter Renfrow in a half PPR scoring format. I mean, not even talking about full PPR, which is your format, but in a half PPR scoring format, I think in the last 5 weeks has had 4 games of 14 plus fantasy points and only 1 of less than that. Maybe even in a full PPR, that 5.5 point game was close to 10. I think there's a great opportunity for Hunter Renfrow to continue to just ball out every single week, especially with Darren Waller out. Now, with Nick Westbrook, I mean, the saving grace would be a touchdown. Outside of that, I think Nick Westbrook is like a safe, probably like 7 points in that full PPR. You know, like 3 catches, 40 yards isn't out of the realm of possibility. Anything more than that, I mean, we'd be ecstatic. Thank you very much, Tommy. All right. Let's see here. All right. Tiff Rivera sends in a question. Says, looking forward to your live streams. Thank you very much. Look forward to your live streams. I appreciate that. Full PPR. Would you start Herbert with no Josh Allen? Herbert with no Keenan Allen, or risk it with Cam? Absolutely not risking it with Cam. Just even the question that you're posing, would you risk it with Cam? Absolutely not. Like I mentioned, guys, there's about 820 of you in here. Ladies, gentlemen, children of all ages, we currently have the updated rankings on screen as of today, 12/12/2021. I currently have Justin Herbert still without Keenan Allen as my number 3 overall quarterback on the week, mainly because I think he's just a stud. He's a stud he's a stud quarterback, and though he doesn't have, his favorite wide receiver out there, he still has Austin Eckler, he still has Mike Williams, he still has Jared Cook, and he's playing against a really bad defense in the New York Giants. So I certainly do think that I'm still firing Herbert up. As to your follow-up question, starting Terry McLaurin and DJ Moore, replace one with Michael Gallup? Absolutely not. As you can see on screen, I have DJ Moore as my number 14 wide receiver this week and Terry McLaurin as my number 16 going into this weekend's contest. So I would certainly play those guys over Gallup, who is far lower. Thank you. Mike Jimenez says, full PPR, Pitts or Hooper? I am playing Austin Hooper in a full PPR. Thank you very much, Mike. Appreciate it. Anthony C says, good morning, Andrew. I own Kittle Should I start Fournette or Deebo Samuel in the flex? Need this W, full PPR. I would play Fournette, and it's not even close. Leonard Fournette over the last month of the season plus has been averaging about 6 receptions per game. Giovanni Bernard has been averaging 1 catch per game. The fact that Leonard Fournette has been such a vital part of this offense has pretty much turned himself into a 3-down back like he typically has been, but obviously we didn't see that in 2020 because he came into the team via trade. He got cut and then he got signed and he had to learn the offense. It wasn't even a trade. But it should have been. I mean, to be honest, I don't know how you're giving up Leonard Fournette in this regard, but there's the Jaguars for you. Nonetheless, Leonard Fournette, 100%. Lombardi Lenny, this is the time where he thrives. Great overall play there. Let's see here. Chris Moraga says, PPR, Cooks versus Seattle or Crowder versus New Orleans. I'm playing Brandon Cooks mainly because if he's healthy and he's active today, Davis Mills has shown that he loves to target Brandon Cooks and pretty much only Brandon Cooks. And this is going to be an event in which Brandon Cooks is probably the only guy that's a relevant option in that offense. They're probably down for majority of the game. A lot of the targets are going to be funneled in his direction. I think Davis Mills knows how to run the offense pretty well. Cooks should be the better play, in my opinion. Thank you. Moving on to Devin. Full PPR, Shenault or Higbee? I'm playing Higbee this week. I'm just completely ignoring anything that's related to Shenault. I think Higbee's the better play for sure, Devin. Thank you. All right, so Landeros sends in a question. Mike Williams or Javonte Williams? Great question. I think even in a full PPR, I think there's a pretty good idea that I think Javonte Williams is probably the safer play in a half PPR scoring format. You didn't mention the format, but I think Javonte Williams is probably the safer play there. And that's probably where I'd go with. I think Mike Williams is just as easily 15 plus points along with a Javonte this week. They both have certainly that kind of potential, assuming they score touchdowns. But for right now, I think Javonte Williams, considering he's a running back, he's going to get guaranteed touches in that regard. That's where I'm going to go with. Thank you. Tommy Hennessy sends another question. Says, Chuba, a good play this week. JT has a bye week. Yeah, I think he's a great play. Even though Cam Newton has the ability and certainly has shown that he is going to be stealing a lot of carries, potentially goal line touches, I still think that Chuba Hubbard is going to run through this Atlanta defense, similar to the way that he did earlier this season. Had himself 80 rushing yards in that contest. And the injuries that this Atlanta defense has faced in the last couple weeks, they're certainly going to be a little bit shorthanded in the regard of their defense. So I think Chuba Hubbard is a great play. Let's see here. Abhishek V says, full PPR, Taysom Hill or Mahomes? I'm going to play Mahomes there, mainly because I look at the matchups that he has played against the Las Vegas Raiders. He really hasn't missed. Even going back to a couple weeks ago, threw 5 touchdowns against them, 400 yards. So I don't think that that's a fluke. I think he has a comfortability against that defense and secondary. Now, as to your follow-up question, I have Kelsey and Kamara. Don't want to miss out on any touchdowns with Kamara. I mean, I think that's just the risk you're going to have to take. Now, if you'd like to play Taysom Hill, by all means, go ahead and play Taysom Hill. And you're good to go because, yes, I understand that there's the ability of Taysom Hill taking rushing touchdowns over on the goal line. So if you want to play Taysom Hill, go for it. He's my number 10 quarterback on the week for a reason. I have, Patrick Mahomes at number 5. But listen, if you prefer one over the other, by all means, make that executive decision. You are the final decision maker on your team. And, of course, you have, the power there. So do with it as you will. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And Garrett Botkin says, full PPR, choose 2, Amari Cooper, Devonta Freeman, Deontay Foreman. I'm going to play Amari Cooper and Devonta Freeman there. Thank you very much. Boom. Everybody's saying David Johnson is out. Okay, got it. Thank you very much. We'll adjust those rankings in a little bit. Going to try to catch up as much as I possibly can via questions here before we get to the second hour of our program. Poseidon's Will says, need an RB2 in a flex. We have Jeff Wilson Jr., Chuba Hubbard, Jerry Jeudy, and Jamison Crowder. In a full PPR scoring format, probably going to play Chuba Hubbard and Jerry Jeudy. I want to play Jeff Wilson, but in a full PPR, I think the wide receiver position there just barely takes priority. Yeah, let's go Hubbard. Damn, dude. Hubbard's not going to catch a single damn ball today. I actually have to think about this. Let it marinate in my mind for a little bit. In a full PPR scoring format, but Jermichael Hasty's active. He could probably take a lot of that receiving work like he's done earlier this season. Yeah, for sure it's Jerry Jeudy. I think Hubbard's probably the next best play there still. But I wouldn't mind Wilson. I just want to make an example. Okay, you know what? Let's go Wilson and Jerry Jeudy in a full PPR. Thank you very much, Poseidon. Berlin B says, Josh Allen plays New England in my fantasy playoffs. I'm terrified of Belichick will shut him down again. Should I stream a quarterback like Taysom Hill, etc. in a 10-team league? Yeah, I don't mind that. I think that's a good option. Thank you. Dustin says, pick 3 in a full PPR. We have DeAndre Hopkins, Jamar Chase, CH, Sony Michel. I'm playing D-Hop, I'm playing Chase, and I'm playing Sony Michel. Thank you very much, Dustin. TC says, flex 1 half PPR, Hubbard, Wilson, Brandon Cooks, Ayuk. If we're flexing 1.5 PPR scoring format, we'd go with Hubbard. Thank you. Where are we at here? Okay, we're catching up. We're at TC. Great. Moving on. We have Jack's Motivational Hub. Says must win. Need to win this week. We have Herbert. We have Robinson. Sony Michel. We have Mike Williams. Amari Cooper. Gronk. McLaurin in the flex. My bench consists of Nick Chubb, Chase Edmonds, Darrell Henderson, Russell Gage, Julio Jones. Any suggestions? Yeah, I would play Nick Chubb over James Robinson 10 times out of 10. And I would leave James Robinson on the bench this week and continue forward with your team. Thank you very much. Zach Levine, Stan, says, full PP. I mean, those Chicago Bulls, the actual good Chicago team over there, they've been looking good. I think by the 3 in the East, like a 16-win record so far. So far, so good. Anyway, full PPR. Pick one for the flex. We have Hubbard, we have James Robinson, we have Hollywood, and we have Lockett, McLaurin, Ayuk. In a full PPR scoring format, out of the group of players that you've just mentioned, I do prefer Tyler Lockett. That's where I'm going to suggest, and that's what I'm going to go with. The next best option would be McLaurin, but for right now, we're going to go Tyler Lockett there. Thank you very much, Zach Levine. Zach Levine, Jiminy Christmas. Kent says half PPR, Jeff Wilson, Julio, or Mooney. Half PPR, let's go Jeff Wilson. Thank you. Wonder X Boy says full PPR, Van Jefferson, Russell Gage, Michael Gallup. I'm seeing your chart, but I don't think. But do you think Gilmore will be on Gage? That's why I'm hesitant. Will he be on Gage? Probably not, because even the last time they played against Atlanta, Stephon Gilmore was all over Kyle Pitts for majority of that contest, and that's how they're pretty much going to continue. They're going to treat Russell Gage as a slot receiver, and they're going to try to cover him as best as they can, but they want to give up those short yardage opportunities. They don't want to give up any big plays with Kyle Pitts. With Calvin Ridley not playing this season, defenses have pretty much just focused on Kyle Pitts as the number one guy, and they're putting their best corners on him. So I think Stephon Gilmore will be covering Kyle Pitts, which is why I'm going to go Russell Gage there. Wonder Boy, thank you. Let's see here. Moving on from Wonder Boy, we have our next question. Let's see if I can find it. All right, so after Wonder Boy, we have Gucci Han. Let's go ahead and scroll back up here and let's find the question. Where art thou? Okay, Gucci Han says, my guy, I need 2 wide receivers and 2 running backs for the flex. My other is a half. Okay, so this is a half PPR league. Okay, so okay, here we go. So we have Debo, we have CeeDee Lamb, we have Lockett, we have David Montgomery, we have Aaron Jones, we have Austin Eckler. Okay, great. So the 2 running backs that I'm starting are Eckler and Montgomery. In your flex, I'm starting Aaron Jones. At your starting wide receiver positions, I'm playing Debo and I'm playing CeeDee Lamb. Lockett sits on the bench this week. Thank you very much, Gucci Haluian. Moving on, we have Josh Helmuth says, Crowder or Scantling full PPR? Why the change? In regards to what? Crowder being higher. Elijah Moore is on the injured reserve and probably out for the rest of the season, so that just creates more value for Jamison Crowder in that offense. That's why I've moved him up in comparison to where I had him ranked earlier this week. Thank you. Ian Ward says full PPR, Marquise Brown or Chuba Hubbard. I'd play Marquise Brown. Thank you. Dom sends in a question, says pick 2, full PPR flex, Foreman, Kirk, Shepard, Van Jefferson. I'm going to play Foreman, and I'm going to play Van Jefferson there. Thank you very much, Dom. No Meza says, need a wide receiver in a flex, half PPR, Julio Jones, Van Jefferson, Brandon Cooks, Jermichael Hasty, Jeremy McNichols, or can play Jamar Jefferson, Beasley, Crowder, or others. Thanks. All right, so in terms of your wide receiver flex, I think I'm pretty comfortable rolling with Julio and Van Jefferson. And that's probably what I'm going to suggest at this point. I don't think you need to go to the waiver wire. I think your options on your team are pretty solidified. So I'm going to go Julio and Van Jefferson there. Thank you very much. Ryan Kilpatrick says DJ Moore over Hunter Renfrow. Worried about Cam's play. I mean, look, I think even with Cam playing badly, DJ Moore just has himself that much more opportunity every single week. I talked about it earlier this week in regards to, yes, they fired their offensive coordinator, but the fact that we didn't see anybody come out of that team and like tweet anything saying, oh, I can't believe they fired Joe Brady, leads me to believe that people probably wanted him out. And if that's going to be the case, then they're probably in a better position for it. If you want to play, let me see here. Renfrow, look, I would play Renfrow over DJ Moore 150% in a full PPR. In a half PPR standard, I'm playing DJ Moore. So that's my suggestion there, Ryan. Thank you very much. MAZ says, morning, Andrew. Flex Cooks, Gallup, or Mooney. As you can see on screen, of the three available options that you did mention, I do have Darnell Mooney as the highest ranked one, and that's what I'm going to suggest there. Thank you very much. Dom sends another question, says Foreman or Crowder full PPR. I'm still playing Foreman there. Thank you very much, Dom. Appreciate it. WRM sends it a question and says, unfortunately, I did a trade that involved Swift this week. With Swift, that involved Swift the week of his injury. Is he out for the season? ? If so, is his backup RB Godwin a good pickup? I think Godwin's probably going to be the receiving back of that team. In comparison to the rest of the guys, he's ran the most amount of routes. And if you're looking for a PPR kind of fill-in terms of that receiving work, sure. I mean, is it going to be a good enough pickup to kind of fill in for Swift? Absolutely not, because Jamal Williams will eventually return. But let's just hope that Swift is not out for the season. We'll just have to wait and see what comes of it. I mean, a couple weeks ago, they didn't really kind of refer to it as a season-ending injury, but I'm hoping it's not going to be the case. Riney, says Marquise Hollywood Brown or DeAndre Hopkins can only play one. I'm going to play D-Hop there. Thank you. Anthony Deal says full PPR flex Crowder or Ty Johnson. In a full PPR, I would flex Crowder. Thank you very much. Jake Duncan says, thank you for all your hard work this season. You're the best. Thank you very much. I appreciate those compliments. To clinch a playoff spot, half PPR in a flex spot, would you start Jeff Wilson, Julio Jones, or Kareem Hunt? In a half PPR, I'm playing Jeff Wilson there. Thank you very much, Jake. I appreciate it. Justin sends in a question, says, do you trust Sutton this week? Okay, look, here's my only thought process on Sutton. Besides the fact that he's been awful as of late, the only reason he ever sits on this screen is because of one reason. And I want to go ahead and do this now because I thought it is important to do so. Of course, many of us have heard of the unfortunate passing of Demaryius Thomas, former wide receiver of the Denver Broncos. I'd like to go ahead and first and foremost have a moment of silence. Of course, rest in peace, Demaryius Thomas. We'll go ahead and do that right now. Thank you, everybody. All right, so again, unfortunate what happened to Demaryius Thomas. Again, we appreciate the time that we had him and the experiences and/or memories that he has obviously contributed to our lives. Extremely unfortunate. Condolences to his family. The only reason I would think that, besides the fact that I think that the Denver Broncos, of course, with a heavy heart this week are going to be playing, but Courtland Sutton was a former teammate of Demaryius Thomas. I feel like this could be a week where Courtland Sutton finally wakes up, after getting signed and getting that huge payout. The guy's been relatively just quiet all season long, and I think this could be one of those weeks. I mean, we've seen it in the NFL over the last, decade. When players have, tragedies happen to them, there's potential in which they could. I mean, this isn't really like guaranteed analysis, right? It's just like a feeling that I have that Courtland Sutton, his veteran in that regard was Demaryius Thomas. And maybe, just maybe, this is a week where he goes to Teddy Bridgewater and says, listen, I got to get the rock this week. I got to score for DT. And I'm hoping that's going to be the case. Let's see here. Moving on to Austin Sebastian. Says, choose 3: Amari Cooper, DK Metcalf, Mike Williams, Sony Michel, T. Higgins. Wow, we have some really good options there, Austin. Also, happy holidays to yours. Thanks, you clinched my playoffs. No problem. Glad to help. Happy holidays to you as well. In terms of who we're starting out of these potential options, I mean, we got some really good ones here. Mike Williams, Sony Michel, T. Higgins, those are my 3 suggestions. Unfortunately, leaving DK and Cooper on the bench, but my goodness, you have some great options there, so that's where I'm going to go with. Jay sends in a question. Says, start 1 wide receiver and 1 flex. We have Sony Michel, Mike Williams, Jamar Chase. Woo, wow, holy moly. In a half PPR scoring format, I'm going Sony Michel and Jamar Chase there. I mean, I love Mike Williams, but I think I have to play the other 2. That's my suggestion. Thank you very much. KJ sends in a question, says, what are your top defenses this week? All right, we'll go ahead and reiterate those from the top right now. So my top defenses for this week, we'll go ahead and read them again. Here we go, top 10. New Orleans Saints, Denver Broncos, Green Bay Packers, Los Angeles Chargers, Tennessee Titans, Seattle Seahawks, Carolina Panthers, Dallas Cowboys, Kansas City Chiefs, 49ers, 49ers, Ravens, Browns. Thank you very much. All right, those are my top 12. Appreciate it. Thank you for sending in that question. Moving on, we have Ali UFC ranked 4 KOs. Says, second flex spot, half PPR, Christian Kirk, Jamison Crowder with Elijah Moore, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Bateman, or Sanders. Okay, so out of that group of receiving options that we have currently in front of us, I would play, where are we at? Where the heck is, yeah, I'm going to play Jamison Crowder. Like, it's pretty apparent that he's going to get a lot of opportunity, especially considering the rest of your options. I mean, Sanders, Bateman, regularly are inconsistent, along with Christian Kirk. Scantling has an opportunity there, but right now we're going to go Jamison Crowder. As for Rashad Penny or Godwin this week, as in the running back for the Detroit Lions, I'm leaning Penny as well. In a half PPR, I probably just roll with Penny. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. Thank you very much. All right, let's see here. Question from Will. He says, full PPR flex position, Michael Gallup or Brandon Cooks. In a full PPR scoring format, I'm playing Brandon Cooks. Considering he's the number 1 wide receiver, and considering we're in a scenario in which, of course, Michael Gallup may be the number 4 wide receiver of that offense behind CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Dalton Schultz, maybe even, Zeke. There's so many, mouths to feed in the Dallas offense that I think Brandon Cooks just kind of in this regard takes the starter there. That's my suggestion. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Alrighty. Let's see here. How many questions are we behind? My goodness. Am I catching up anytime soon? Perhaps, maybe. Yeah, actually, we're catching up. Okay, here we go. We're going to do a little bit of rapid fire here, okay? Try to catch up as best as I possibly can in order to kind of get into the chat and kind of answer you guys' questions. One moment, please. Here we go. All right. Let's scroll this over here so I can look somewhere at the camera. Big Body Birds 21 says Heineke so starting Heineke, start Ricky Seals-Jones or Evan Ingram. I'm going to play RSJ. I'm going to play Ricky Seals-Jones over Ingram this week. Thank you. AJ says, is Devontae Adams for Mixon and CeeDee Lamb a good trade? Wow, we're trading this late. My other running backs are Chubb, Montgomery. My wide receivers are Justin Jefferson, DJ Moore. Is Devontae Adams for Mixon and CD a good trade? Yes, I would rather have Mixon and CD rest of the season. Thank you very much, AJ. Ryan says half PPR. Ayuk, Judy, Julio, wide receiver 2 spot. I'm going to play Jerry Judy this week. Thank you. DeAndre Warren says I started Justin Jefferson, Claypool at wide receiver. Didn't know if Debo was going to play this week. Now I need a running back and a flex play. Start Zeke, Patterson, Montgomery, or Debo. All right, so if we're going to play a running back and a flex, we're playing Patterson, we're playing Montgomery. And somehow, some way, we're leaving Zeke and Debo on the bench. But that's just this. Oh, start my running back. So there's multiple running backs. Sorry. Yes, I think we're still leaving Debo on the bench. We're playing Zeke, Patterson, and Montgomery there. Thank you very much, DeAndre Warren. CB says, Heineke safer over Cam. I think he is safer over Cam, certainly. Need a playoff win. Heine is on the waivers. It's +5 for over 100 rushing yards and +5 for extra 300 passing yards. For quarterbacks, sincerely, Flying Dutchman. Yeah, let's play Heineke there. We talked about it earlier this week. He's certainly a safer play. Oof says Mooney or Julio Jones in the flex. I'm going to play Mooney. Brandon L says Hubbard, Higgins in a standard league. I'm going to play Higgins. Thank you very much, Brandon. I appreciate that. Let's see if I can find this name in the chat. There wasn't a message attached to it. Okay, here it is. Mahmoudi says, flex, standard, Melvin Gordon, Chris Godwin, or OBJ. I'm going to play Chris Godwin there. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. DYLY bar 4 says Ayuk or Gallup. As you guys can see on screen again, the rankings that I have above on screen are the way that I would run with it. I'm going to play Ayuk over Gallup. Thank you. Elijah Dillon says full PPR. I need a win for the playoffs. I'm screwed because of injuries and buys. Am I starting Ty Johnson, Chase Edmonds, Amir Abdullah? Thanks, man. Have a good Sunday. I appreciate that. Really quickly, guys, I want to reiterate this point. I know I'm trying to go quickly, but do not play Chase Edmonds unless you have a pivot option for Monday. We do not know whether or not he is going to play until Monday afternoon, which is the Monday night game, of course, against the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams. If you do not have another option, like a Christian Kirk, and you're not starting Chase Edmonds in the flex position, if you're starting him as a starting running back, I would suggest just pivoting it away and picking someone else. Because if he is not active on Monday, you're going to need to find a replacement. And I don't know if you want to start Eno Benjamin at your running back position. And unless you have another flex option like an OBJ or a Rondale Moore, AJ Green, I don't think it's really smart to play him in that regard. So I'm going to suggest Ty Johnson right now. That's my suggestion, Elijah. Thank you. Michael Amato says, morning, Andrew. Who do you think gets more touches and the overall workload in the 49ers backfield, Hasty or Wilson? I honestly do think that it's going to be Wilson by a pretty large margin. So yeah, that's my suggestion. Joel Hines, thank you very much for the little controller thing. I appreciate that. Thank you. Barry Goldberg says, greetings, Standard League, Van Jefferson, Russell Gage. In a Standard League, I'm playing Van Jefferson. Thank you. Trey sends in a question. PPR, Flex 1. Marvin Jones, no thank you. Sterling Shepard, maybe. Amon-Ra St. Brown, maybe. Jalen Guyton, Allen Robinson, or Higbee. Out of the group of players that you mentioned, I prefer Sterling Shepard, who is going to give it a try and play today. And I think based on what we've seen with him and Mike Glennon, he's the better option out of the group. Thank you, Trey. Alejandro Scott says, Chuba Hubbard or Darnell Mooney in the flex. In a half PPR scoring format, I'm going to play Hubbard there. PD says, half PPR, pick 4. Sorry, not pick. I don't think you mean pick 4. Because you only have 3 options there, and I would just pick. So I think you mean like pick 1. Maybe you misclick. Maybe pick 2. Either way, let me go ahead and rank the players you mentioned. You put McLaurin, Higgins, and Barkley. If I was going to start them in a half PPR scoring format, I would play Higgins, McLaurin, and Barkley in that exact order. Thank you. And Dale Derrick says full PPR. 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex. We have Eckler, Adams, Debo, Lamb, Godwin, Mixon. Dude, I love your guys' teams. Like, what the heck is this? Can I have this team? Like, how do you lose? You can't lose with this team. You can't. All right, in terms of who we're starting, you have 1 running back spot. We're going to play Austin Eckler there for sure. It's not even close. As for your 2 wide receiver spots, we're going to play Devontae Adams, and we're going to follow that up with probably Chris Godwin or CeeDee Lamb. Was a full PPR scoring format. I'm going to play Chris Godwin there. As for your 2 flexes, Joe Mixon, and okay, so yeah, we're leaving Debo Samuel on the bench. We're playing Eckler, Adams, Lamb, Godwin, Mixon. That's my suggestion this week. Thank you very much, Dale. And it kind of gives you a buffering week to see if Debo is at a full capacity or not, which a lot of people don't have the privilege or capabilities of doing so because they don't have the depth that you do. Adam Davis says full PPR, start 1, Zeke, Javonte, D-Hop. I'm playing Javonte Williams. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Guns and Butter says Taysom Hill or Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has been a stud. If you're looking for the potential quote-unquote upside, I guess Taysom Hill has it, but Aaron Rodgers, 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in the last 3 games that he's played against the Chicago Bears. In the last 2 games that he's played this season prior to the bye week, 4 touchdowns in one, 3 touchdowns in the other. The guy is on fire, and I think Aaron Rodgers is the better play. Dicer says Taysom Hill or Brady. Again, I'm probably still sticking with Brady. I think he's probably going to get himself a pretty safe week here. I think the fact that Taysom Hill did not have Alvin Kamara last week certainly did lead to him, getting those extra rushing yards. He's still going to get them, but it's a matter of Kamara is certainly going to kind of dig into his overall workload, which I think he's going to be a lesser play for. So that's why I'm going Brady, but I still think that Taysom Hill, again, top 10 quarterback play this week. Mike Jones says full PPR. Sony, Freeman. Free getting a lot of TRJ. Okay, so I mean, look, I know Freeman is getting a lot of work. He's getting a lot of touchdowns. There's a lot of possibilities there, but I think Sony Michel automatically, because of the backfield that he's associated with and the offense that he's associated with and the performance he had last week of 120 rushing yards and a touchdown, Sony's the play. Alex Apking sends in a question. Let's see here, Alex. Where the heck did the question go? Where did it go? How did I lose it there? Here it is. Alex Apking says, I got 3 people on the COVID IR list, full PPR. I need to fill 1 running back spot and 1 flex spot. We have, and I quote, James Robinson, Sony Michel, Dontrell Hilliard, and Russell Gage in a full PPR scoring format out of the group of players that you've mentioned. Sony Michel is an automatic running back start. As for your flex between James Robinson and Russell Gage, man, I really don't like the entire scenario as to what the heck is going on in Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville is a complete mess, but I think I still have to start James Robinson there. So those are my 2 suggestions. Thank you. Moving on. John sends in a question. John 007 says, Jeff Wilson or Donta Foreman? As of this week, as you guys can see on screen, I'll go ahead and once again reiterate, everything on screen is updated rankings. So if you are looking for rankings in a half PPR scoring format, that is what you can see on screen. There's about 800 of you in here, so hopefully that has kind of been kind of conveyed based on the fact that it's on screen and it says updated rankings. I do know that someone said that David Johnson's probably out this week. So that's fine. Just disregard it. We'll update it in a second. Well, actually, no, he's not even on screen. I don't know why was anybody talking about David? Maybe you guys were talking to each other. Anyway, regardless, the entire point is we're talking about Jeff Wilson or Donta Foreman. I'm going to play Jeff Wilson this week. Thank you. Jermaine Jackson sends in a question. Says Van Jefferson, Sony Michel, or Hilliard? Sony Michel 1,000%. Alex sends in a question. Says pick 2 running backs for me to start. Chubb, Patterson, Michel, Montgomery. Ooh, wow. Okay. Patterson and Montgomery are probably the 2 that I'm going with. But I don't like it because I honestly think that it's a pretty good position to where you could probably start all 4 of them and find pretty equal success. But Patterson and Montgomery they've been the guys as of late. So that's where I'm going, Alex. Vincent had sent in a question. Message retracted. Okay. Jorge Perez. No question attached to it. Let's see if we can find it in the chat. Jorge Perez says, need 1 flex. Available players are Crowder, Gage, Guyton, Jeff Wilson, Godwin, Jamar Jefferson, Austin Walter of the Jets, and then Ty Johnson of the Jets. Okay. So, of the available options you mentioned, you need to flex one of these guys. I am flexing Jeff Wilson there. In a full PPR, I could consider Russell Gage as an option, but I think I'm still going to go Jeff Wilson there. Thank you very much, Jorge. All right. Next question goes to Criminal Kids. Says Dak or Taysom. Again, as you guys can see on screen, I'm playing Dak. Now, if you're looking for quote-unquote higher upside, you can certainly play Taysom Hill if you'd like. But I think there's a reason why I have Taysom down there is because I don't expect him to have the explosive, 4 rushing touchdown game of the high upside that he has, potential of. So then I would go with Dak. Jacob sends in a question. Carr or Wilson, non-PPR. Okay, so if we're picking quarterbacks, Carr or Wilson, I'm playing Russell Wilson against the Houston Texans. As for Gallup versus Christian Kirk, I'm going to play Michael Gallup this week. Thank you very much, Jacob. Appreciate that. Alex Sobron says, do you think Javonte Williams will have a prime role with Melvin back? I think the team is eventually going to transition to giving him the full workload, not to an extent to where, not to the full extent to where he's like, I guess, top 5 capacity, because there's still going to be probably 10 touches going in Melvin Gordon's direction. But if 10 touches go there, 20 go in the direction of Javonte Williams because Melvin Gordon's still dealing with a hip injury, then we're in a spot where I think he's in a pretty good role. Prime role, yes. That's why I have him in my top 12 conversation. All right. Thank you very much, Alex. Appreciate it. So let's see here. Where are we at? Okay, Switchblade Dragon. Okay, here we go. Switchblade Dragon says PPR Ayuk or Gage. I'm playing Gage. Thank you. Michael Amato says Hilliard or Shepard flex. I'm going to play Shepard. Thank you. Michael Satterfield says full PPR Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Taysom Hill. Really scared about Lamar. If you're worried about Lamar, you can pivot to a Taysom Hill and you're good to go. Otherwise, you play Lamar and risk it for the biscuit because he has the highest upside of the quarterbacks. Jacob says happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you as well. Standard format, pick 3. We have Tyreek Hill, Mike Williams, Hunter Renfrow, and Amari Cooper. Great. If we're starting 3 out of that group, we're playing Tyreek Hill, Mike Williams, and Hunter Renfrow. Thank you very much. As for your follow-up question, Taysom Hill or Russell Wilson, we're going to play Taysom Hill. So again, Jacob, Hadida, I would play Tyreek Hill, Mike Williams, Hunter Renfrow, and Taysom Hill. Thank you very much. Moving on. Dicer, half PPR, flex, Michelle, Javonte, or Gronk. I'm going to play Michelle there. Thank you. I think Gronk's been great, but I mean, Sonny Michelle. Whew. Orlando sends in a question. Let's see, Orlando. Where is it? Is it in the chat? Okay, you sent in another one because, okay, yeah, cool. Jeff Wilson or Brandon Ayuk in a full PPR? You know, I thought about this a lot yesterday. I think I'm still rolling with Jeff Wilson because he has the higher touchdown upside. I think Brandon Ayuk could very easily get himself 11 points today just off of receiving yards and receptions. But I think Jeff Wilson's probably the safer play with upside this week. With, you know, of course, a touchdown. I mean, the last time he played as a starter against Jacksonville, let's not forget, literally Jimmy Garoppolo overthrew a 3-yard pass that would have been a wide open touchdown. So, you know, we can just blame Mr. Mr. Jimmy G on that one. All right. Thank you very much, Orlando. Appreciate it. Your mom 1669 says Valdez Scantling or Alex Collins. I'm playing MVS. Thank you. Jinku says need a wide receiver with Waddle plus Devonta Smith on bye. How much confidence do you actually have in Amon-Ra St. Brown versus Denver over Marvin Jones or Laviska Shenault versus Tennessee? How much more confidence? Probably like I would say enough confidence to where in every single league that I play in, and I play in 13 redraft leagues, I have dropped Marvin Jones and Laviska Shenault. I do not have any rostership of either of those two players. I actually have more shares of what's his name? Treadwell, the other wide receiver in this offense for the Jaguars. I have more shares of him, mainly because, I don't know if you guys have heard the reports, but Urban Meyer of the Jaguars, I mean, Marvin Jones is not in the best place, you know, in terms of being a veteran. Okay, so earlier this season, there's been, you know, obviously people leaking it to the media, but a couple scenarios where Urban Meyer is yelling at the wide receiver group. Marvin Jones left the facility. He actually had a verbal altercation with Urban Meyer during practice one week. There have been multiple scenarios where this, you know, Marvin Jones is not having fun there. You know, it's nothing to be, you know, happy about, especially considering they're losing football games. They're not getting enough targets, and it's just a complete mess. Now, does the off the field kind of issues stem into the field? I think in this regard it does. So I just rather play the wide receiver that's coming off of a hot week that has at least had himself relatively good performances in comparison to some of these other guys. I mean, Marvin Jones hasn't scored a touchdown since what, like week 4? Laviska Shenault hasn't scored a touchdown period this season. So we're going to Amon-Ra. All right, so we're almost caught up here. Jinku said, okay, so we did that. Harley sends in a question. Let's see here. Harley says, and I quote, Mike Williams or Aaron Jones already have Montgomery and Javonte, Hill and Adams. Okay, cool. So, you already got yourself a pretty nice team here. So it's between Aaron Jones and Mike Williams. I think I'm probably just going to play Aaron Jones there. Even in a full PPR, I think Aaron Jones is a pretty safe play against the Chicago Bears this week, especially coming off of the bye week. He played before the bye week against the Los Angeles Rams. Yes, at a limited capacity, but still was able to get himself a lot of work there. Aaron Jones is the lead back of this team. I expect him to get back to it. So I'm going to play with, you know, an RB in that, you know, caliber over Mike Williams this week. Thank you. Where are we at with the next question? Here we go. Jay Jackson says Gerald Everett or Evan Ingram. I have Gerald Everett ahead of Evan Ingram in my rankings. Thank you very much, Jay. Appreciate it. I know Evan Ingram had himself a little bit of a better week last week, and Gerald Everett had negative points, but the volume of targets that Gerald Everett has gotten since Russell Wilson has returned from his injury have been enough to convince me that he's going to continue to be a mainstay in this offense. The fact that they play against Houston, in my opinion, it's just an automatic play. Melissa, thank you for the donation. Says, flex Kareem Hunt or Melvin Gordon this week. All right, if we're playing in a half PPR scoring format, we're most likely just going to play Melvin Gordon because I do think that there's more guaranteed touches probably going in his direction. An even easier matchup against the Detroit Lions in comparison to having to go up against that Baltimore Ravens front seven. So Melvin Gordon is my suggestion there. Even in a full PPR, I think Melvin Gordon is just as capable of catching the ball out of the backfield and even stealing a touchdown from Javonte Williams. Maybe I'm misled in the idea that I think Javonte is going to be a automatic, top 12 in that regard. Maybe Melvin Gordon comes back and completely dominates, goes back to, being his top 15 self. So yeah, Melvin Gordon in all capacities is the better play there. Thank you very much. Jacob sends in a question. Thank you very much. Says, Hunter Renfrow, Lockett, PPR this week with a ton of bonuses. In a PPR league, I prefer Hunter Renfrow. I do expect him to catch the ball far more than Lockett will. Lockett certainly has the quote-unquote potential for the bonuses of like a 40-yard touchdown, 50-yard touchdown, those kind of bonuses. But Renfrow in a full PPR is the better play. Thank you. Oziano, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let's see here. Questions are coming in. Okay, so we did that. Angel says, full PPR, Donta Foreman or Landry? That's a good question. I think Jarvis Landry can catch the ball 7 times for 70 yards, get 14 points. Why do I say Devonta? I keep thinking Freeman, Foreman. It just keeps blending. It's ridiculous. Anyway, Foreman versus Landry in a full PPR. Man, do I want to play Landry? I think I do, honestly. Because there's Hilliard there. There's the potential that Ryan Tannehill rushes a touchdown. Yeah, let's play Landry this week in a full PPR. That's my suggestion. Thank you very much. Let's see here. Where are we at? Okay, so Jorge Perez. Any other questions that you sent in, my guy? Jeff Wilson Jr. no longer available. I need a flex. Crowder, Gage, Jalen Guyton, Godwin, Jefferson. Okay, so if we're playing one out of that group, it would now then be Russell Gage. Thank you very much, Jorge. I appreciate it. Robert Mills Jr. says Gallup, Ayuk, OBJ, McLaurin, pick 2. McLaurin for sure is playing. After McLaurin, I'm probably pivoting to OBJ or Ayuk. Probably go OBJ there. So McLaurin, OBJ, those are my 2 suggestions. Thank you very much. Sevak says in a question, says 1 running back, 1 flex, full PPR, choose 2. We have Jeff Wilson Jr., we have Kareem Hunt. Dude, your autocorrect is completely butchering this. Jess Wilson, Kareem Hunt, Brandon Cooks, Ayuk, or pick Sterling Shepard or Jamison Crowley. That's hilarious. That's great. Either way, I know what you mean, so we're good to go. So, Sevak, here's my suggestion. If we're playing 1 running back out of the group, it would be to play Jeff Wilson Jr. As for the flex position in a full PPR between Kareem Hunt, Brandon Cooks, Brandon Ayuk, Sterling Shepard, Jamison Crowder, I'm going Brandon Cooks there. So Wilson, Cooks, thank you. Anthony sends in a question, says pick 2. We have, and I quote, where the heck did it go? Okay, here it is. Julio, Crowder, Ayuk, Gallup, or Mooney. Julio and Mooney. Those are my 2 suggestions. Thank you very much, Anthony. Fainsky says Michelle, Jamar Chase, or Gronkowski. Full PPR. In a full PPR, I'm playing Jamar Chase there. Thank you very much. Joey Ratcliffe says Jeff Wilson or Van Jefferson. Full PPR. Probably Jeff. Fudge, man. I want to play Jeff Wilson, but I don't know if he can actually catch a Van Jefferson in that regard. Can Van Jefferson outproduce him if he doesn't score a touchdown? Probably not. Let's play Jeff Wilson. Thank you. Tony Arse sends, or Troy Arse sends in a question. Let's see, Troy, where's your question at? Anything in the chat you typed in? No? Okay, I'm going to wait for your message to be attached there, Troy. There it is. I need to drop 1 to activate Mike Will, Ty Johnson, or Coleman rest of season. I'm dropping Coleman because Michael Carter will be back next week. So drop Coleman. Thank you. Let's see here. So Fainsky sends in a question, says, okay, so we did Fainsky, we did Joey Ratcliffe, we did Troy. VA says Montgomery or Hollywood Brown. I'm playing Montgomery this week. Thank you. Billington Bosman says Javonte or Michelle, PPR. I prefer Javonte over Michelle in a PPR league. Also, Seals, Cook, or Ingram. I prefer Jared Cook. Actually, no. Don't I have Ricky Seals ahead of him? Yeah, I have Ricky Seals ahead of him. It's on screen. We're good to go. I was like, hold up. Pretty sure I have the answer on screen. So yeah, Ricky Seals, Javonte, those are my 2 suggestions. All right, we've caught up relatively. Let's get into the chat. Let's answer some questions here. Tyler in the chat, Momjian says, Gage, MVS, or Cooks? I'm playing Russell Gage there, Tyler. That's what I would roll with. Let's see here. Beast Mode, PPR, Javonte Williams. Or sorry, that's Jeff Wilson Jr. or Chuba Hubbard. In a full PPR, it was Jeff Wilson. I think that's what I suggested earlier to somebody else. Bill Gates says, help Andrew. So far, we have... okay. How far is Deshaun Jackson behind Amon-Ra St. Brown in your rankings? Please explain again why Godwin is over Jefferson. Godwin's over Jefferson because of the receiving work he's going to get and the entire nature of how this game's potentially going to go. I think Denver's going to lead by a pretty wide margin, which will lead to, of course, Detroit Lions passing the ball, which is why Godwin is ahead of Jefferson. Let's see here. So in regards to Deshaun Jackson is okay. So if I was to give you an idea, so Amon-Ra St. Brown's my number 36 ranked wide receiver. Deshaun Jackson's my number 65 ranked wide receiver. Pretty big difference. So yeah, pretty big difference. Pretty big drop off there in that regard. After Bill Gates, okay, Gary Stewart says Renfro, Mike Williams, Hopkins, Hubbard, James Robinson need to. I mean, Gary, I'm probably playing both those wide receivers. I'm probably going with Mike Williams and Hopkins there, unless you're in a full PPR, in which I would play Renfro over Hopkins. Thomas Vang says Van Jefferson or Devonta Freeman. You play Freeman there. You're pretty good to go there. Let's see. Okay, a couple questions got sent in via donation. Okay, so Corey Olson sends in a question. Says, do you still start Connor with Edmonds in? Yes, I would still start Connor. My anticipation with the ranking that I have on screen is with Edmonds still in the lineup. That's why I have Edmonds ranked, right? Because I do anticipate Edmonds to be activated, but you have to be careful because there's no guarantee. Though I believe that to be the case, doesn't mean it's going to happen. Though I believe Alvin Kamara is going to be the number 1 running back, doesn't mean it's going to happen, right? If I could predict the future, certainly I would be in Vegas putting a lot of money on some things instead of being here. But either way, in regards to current ranking of James Conner, it's with the assumption that Chase Edmonds is there. If there is no Chase Edmonds, I think James Conner is a little bit better because I do think that there's going to be a limited nature of Chase Edmonds to a regard. But for right now, I think Conner is still a great play. Dylan sends it a question. Says, dead set on starting Taysom, bench Lamar, or Brady, 2-quarterback league. I mean, okay, so if you're dead set on starting Taysom, then I'm sitting Brady. And do I want to really sit Brady? Oh, man. Yeah, you have. You don't have to, though. Damn. Yeah, I would, though. I think Lamar actually does have a better overall option this week than Brady. I know Brady's been great, but I mean, it's a different defense out there. So for right now, yeah, if you're dead set on starting Taysom, you play Lamar with him, you roll it. Carson sends it a question. Thank you very much, Carson. Says, full PPR, flex, Tyler Lockett or James Conner. In a full PPR scoring format, I think oh, wow. I kind of want to play Tyler Lockett. Yeah, I'm going to play Tyler Lockett there. Thank you. Chris Latham. I don't see a message attached, but there is an interesting little GIF emoji. I don't know if you know what the heck you want to call it there. But yeah. Okay, a couple questions that were sent in just regularly in the chat. Let's see here. So we have Pierre saying Mike Williams or Clyde Edwards. I'd probably go with Mike Williams there. You're pretty safe there. A better duo this week, Rodgers / Devontae or Kyler / Hopkins. I think the better duo is certainly Rodgers and Devontae Adams this week. David David in the chat says Gage, Cooks, or Ayuk. Again, the rankings on screen will give you the idea as to what you're looking for there. Gage or Mooney. Sorry, Andrew, you're good to go. Listen, look at the screen, and Mooney just ahead of Gage. In a full PPR, I would swap it though. If you have a full PPR scoring format, you're looking at Mooney and Gage. I'd play Gage there. Randy says choose 2: Julio, Ayuk, OBJ, or St. Brown. Julio and OBJ are my suggestions there. Thank you very much, Randy. Let's see here. A couple more questions sent in. AV says PPR: Evans, Lockett, J-Rob, Renfro, Higgins. If we're picking 3 in a full PPR, Evans, Renfro, Higgins. Those are my 3 suggestions. Thank you very much, AV. Kaysen or Kayson, I don't know. My apologies if I'm butchering the name. Kaysen, Jeff Wilson, or Hubbard. I'll just call you High Phil. How about that? High Phil says Jeff Wilson or Hubbard in a non-PPR league. I get a bonus for every 100 rushing yards. That takes Jeff Wilson a little bit more appealing. I don't think that makes Jeff Wilson more appealing. An extra 100 rushing yards actually, in my opinion, makes Hubbard more appealing because they play against. I think it just makes Hubbard more appealing to me because Debo is still in that offense. I know like Debo is as threatening, if not more threatening, than Cam Newton is in the running game. So I'm still on the side of Hubbard. If you want to play Jeff Wilson, again, they're really close in my rankings, so you can do that. But I think in a non-PPR, I think I'm still sticking with Hubbard there. Digital Print House says PPR Gibson, Patterson, Michelle, Eckler. Need two. Eckler's an automatic play, followed by Gibson's an automatic play. J.D. McKissick's not playing today, guys. In a PPR, Gibson should have 6 catches minimum. Makes him an incredible top 3 running back play today. Thank you very much, Digital. I appreciate it. Let's see here. Troy sends in another question. Troy, where the heck did it go? Where art thou? Troy, where's your message? I'll just wait for you to type it in. D-Boy Furious 7 says, Aaron Jones or A.J. Dillon? 100% Aaron Jones. As you can see on screen, Aaron Jones is significantly higher than A.J. Dillon because I expect it to get back to where it was prior to the injury and all that kind of jazz. Hisham A says, pick 2. Half PPR, Wilson, Hasty, Donovan Peoples-Jones, or Gabriel Davis. If I'm picking 2 out of this group, I'm probably starting both the running backs for the 49ers, Jeff Wilson and JaMychal Hasty, and just hoping that if I can bottle up all the value of that running back, group, and I'd be good to go. Because I look at Gabriel Davis, I look at Donovan Peoples-Jones, and I think to myself, unless these guys are scoring touchdowns, which again is pretty rare thing to do in the National Football League, especially this season in comparison to last year. The significant less amount of touchdowns that we've seen this year. I think it is, pretty risky to start one of those 2 wide receivers. So I'm just going to probably play both those running backs. Thank you. Troy, where the heck is your question, my guy? I can't. Did you send it? Let me see here, Troy. Dude, F3 function, please. Why is it not working in this regard? Whoa. Hello. There you go. My computer's bugging for some reason. Okay, so we did that one. Troy says, should I keep Boston Scott or Ty Johnson? I would keep Ty Johnson. I'd cut Boston Scott. I think Miles Sanders will be fine after the bye. So we don't really have to worry about that in his injury. Okay. Jay Jackson says, I'm screwed. Matt Ryan or Baker Mayfield? I currently have Baker Mayfield ahead of Matt Ryan. That's what I would suggest, Jay. Appreciate it. Chris sends in a question. Let's see. Chris says half PPR pick 3. Sony Michel, Antonio Gibson, Chuba Hubbard. Chubb concerns me with Hunt. Wait, I'm so confused. Chris, can you just clarify? So you're saying pick 3, but you say Sony Michel, Antonio Gibson, and Chuba. And then you're saying Chubb concerns me with Hunt. We know that Chuba and Chubb are completely different players, right? I just want to reiterate. I just want to make sure, because if we're in a scenario where we think it's the same player, then we need to clarify this, because Chuba Hubbard and Nick Chubb are completely different ranked players in my mind, and I would give you a different result in terms of my suggestion here. So I just want to confirm, because Chuba and then you're saying Chubb. I don't know. You didn't say you had Chubb, so I don't know. So just let me know in the chat so we're good. Pitts or Ertz? I'd play Ertz there. Ertz did have a shoulder injury, Matthew, earlier this week, but he had a full participation in Thursday and Friday's practice. I think it's a better matchup against the Los Angeles Rams. They've given up 3 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks to opposing tight ends. Ertz is a better play there. Chris says Hunter or Jeff Wilson. We played Jeff Wilson there. Guyton or Peoples-Jones. I do have Guyton a little bit higher than Peoples-Jones this week, Tom. Let's see here. McBurger says Ty Johnson or MVS in a full PPR. I'd go with MVS there. Rob P says pick 1 in a standard. Foreman or Mooney in a standard. I'm playing Foreman there. Let's see. Higgins or Javonte in the flex. Ooh, Daniel, that's a tough question, my guy. Probably I roll with Javonte. I think that's what I suggested a little bit earlier to somebody else. Michael Williams or Cordero. I think I'm playing Cordero. Boom. What do we got here? Judy or Jeff Wilson in a full PPR. Adam Habib, we're gonna go with Judy. No problem, Randy. Have a good Sunday as well. Sony, Mike Evans, Jeff Wilson. I'd play Sony Michelle there, Caesar. All right, let's see here. Nelson sent in a donation, but there wasn't a message attached to it. Nelson, let's see if I can find it, my guy. All right, Nelson says, flex James Robinson or DJ Moore in a half PPR? That's a great question. I think okay. I'm afraid of leaving James Robinson on my bench and he goes for like 15 points. That's my legitimate fear. Like, I had a nightmare. I of the 3 hours that I did sleep, I had a nightmare that James Robinson went off. Okay. Now, I don't know if that's, my mind working in devious ways in order to just screw me over, or if it's, I have an extra worldly ability now and I've learned how to, have premonitions and see into the future. I don't know which one of the two. We'll know by the end of this afternoon. But for right now, in a half PPR, I'd probably just play James Robinson. In a full PPR, I'd play DJ Moore. Drop Antonio Brown. Okay, that kind of language. You take it easy, okay? Take it easy, guys. Jiminy Christmas. Like, we don't need to be cursing out players, okay? That's the last thing that we do here, okay? We love every player. We want the best for every player. Despite rankings, what we want is every single player to succeed. Because if every single player succeeds, I can't be wrong. And that would literally make my week. And that's what happened on Thursday, except for Tyler Conklin, who was like, you know what, Andrew, I'm going to shove it up yours. And I'm like, all right, thanks, Tyler. I appreciate that. Okay. JC sends in a question, says, with Justin Fields back, Chuba and Chubb over Montgomery? Absolutely not. I think Justin Fields back actually helps Montgomery, to be totally honest. Let's see here. Mike Williams let's just think about it, right? David Montgomery had a 20-point week last week, and Andy Dalton threw 4 damn picks, so I think you're fine there. Taysom Hill or Matthew Stafford, Cordero Patterson or Zeke? I have Cordero over Zeke, as you can see on screen, Audie, and I have Taysom over, I think I have Matthew Stafford over Taysom, yeah, so we're good there. Again, guys, just want to reiterate, about 800 of you in here. I understand week 14 is extremely necessary for you guys to make the playoffs, continue to have a top standing, perhaps avoid last place for some of you, maybe if you have some sort of, I would say, punishment in that regard, maybe like the 24-hour Waffle House challenge or something like that. Listen, I understand. I'm trying to get to every question I possibly can. Just want to reiterate, everything on screen is updated rankings. A lot of you have asked questions in the chat that can very easily be answered by looking at the screen and going ahead and looking at the rankings from the top 36 there at running back and wide receiver, and top 16 at quarterback and tight end. So go ahead, use those to your advantage. You can go ahead. You don't have to take it by word. It is my suggestion, but it doesn't mean that it's going to happen 100%. Use confirmation bias. Go look at my ranking. Go look at somebody else's rankings. Think about what you kind of think this week. Combine it all. Make the best decision you possibly can. I'm just trying to give you guys as much possible information I can in order to give you more of an idea of what the best decision is to make to help your team win. Thank you. All right. So a couple. What the heck happened here, Chris? How do you keep sending in questions or donations without questions attached? You just keep playing. Okay, clicking send and it doesn't attach. Like, I don't understand what happens there. Anyway, all right, Chris, let's see here. You have Chubb as well. Okay, cool. Now that makes sense. So pick 3, half PPR, Michelle, Gibson, Hubbard, Chubb. Dude, I am 1,000% playing Michelle, Gibson, and Chubb. I would go to the grave with those 3. I trust them enough to do so. That's my suggestion. Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate it. Now that we've got that all settled, cool. Jake Q says, please help, Chuba or CEH? As you can see on screen, Jack, my apologies. I'm sure people do that to you and you don't like it, so I apologize in advance. Jack, I would play CEH over Chuba Hubbard. Cooper, Mooney, or Renfro, pick 2. Cooper and Renfro are the highest ranked, Troy, so that's where I'm going. That's my suggestion. Conklin humbled you. Conklin humbled me. If you think I'm not humble, then you're completely just off base, my guy. You must be new here. But technically humbling me, it's going to take that's such a weird comment to even say. Imagine me being cocky. Jesus. You guys haven't seen Andrew when he's been cocky. Whew. You haven't seen it. Anyway, Sam Castillo says pick 2, Mike Williams, Terry McLaurin, DJ Moore, James Conner, T. Higgins. Full PPR. Love the channel. Thank you very much, Sam. All right. So in regards to the available options you have, if we're picking 2 out of this group, we're playing T. Higgins and Mike Williams in a full PPR. You got a lot of good options here, but I think those are the 2 best. They're both wide receivers. They're going to both obviously gain a lot of value based on the receptions they get in comparison to a James Conner who may be limited in the receiving game in that regard. But either way, McLaurin and DJ Moore, they've been extremely volatile. I think Mike Williams, T. Higgins, they got the opportunity to go in their direction. Let's see here. We have Nomad sends in a donation, but Nomad, there wasn't a message attached to it. Nomad. See if you typed anything earlier today. Nomad says, who do I start? Dontrell Hilliard or Russell Gage? I'd play Russell Gage there. PPR, yeah, 100% Russell Gage. I appreciate it, Nomad. Thank you very much. David Ramos, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I see you. Let's see here. Oh, there was a question that I saw. Somebody asked where did the question go? Oh, man, where did it go? Okay. Ashton sends in the question, says, I need 3 flex dynasty. Super flex. We have Reynolds, Uzama, Anderson, Ty Johnson, Deshaun Jackson, Scantling, Pringle, Callaway. Okay, if we're playing 3 in a dynasty league this week, I'm playing Scantling, I'm playing Reynolds, and I'm playing Ty Johnson. Thank you. Where did the question go, dude? Okay. Roy Powell says, is Mixon playing? From what we heard from last night's report, he should be. I have Aaron Jones, Montgomery, and Mixon, and I have Lamb, Diggs, and McLaurin. Should I play McLaurin in the 10 o'clock game in case Mixon doesn't play? Roy, do you have Samaje Perine? Because if you have Samaje Perine on roster, I'd be far more confident holding Mixon and playing him this afternoon with the assumption that I have the ability to go ahead and play another player in his stead. But yeah, I think I'm still playing Mixon. I think based on the report that I read last night and everything that head coach of the Bengals, Zach Taylor, said all week long, he is on pace to play and he should be playing this week despite the illness. Thank you. Harrison says, Jalen Guyton or Darrell Williams? Great question. In a half PPR scoring format, I think you're probably better off with Jalen Guyton. Unless Darrell Williams is stealing a touchdown, I don't think Darrell Williams can catch him. Brett McCoy says, non-PPR, must get 22 to continue. McLaurin, Freeman, and Debo, pick 2. Great question. In a non-PPR scoring format, bro, oh God, this is going to break my brain. Okay, we're playing Debo. I want touchdown upside, and I think Debo, provides that pretty well, Brett. So then the next question is Terry McLaurin and his every 3-week success a possible thing? Because he'll have a great game, then he takes 2 weeks off. He'll have a great game, takes 2 weeks off. And this is the on week, technically. And is that, great analysis? No, it's literally just, let's hope that maybe something is going to catch fire because really we don't know how to predict this man's overall upside. If I wait, I have to bench Chase to play Debo. If I wait, I'll have to bench Chase to play Debo. What do you mean? What do you mean by that, Brett? Why wouldn't you play Chase? Oh, okay. Now I understand. Okay. Well, hold up. Aren't you playing Chase and Debo? Anyway, regardless, if we're picking 2 out of the 3, I think in a non-PPR scoring format, you're probably better off just playing Debo and Freeman. I love McLaurin. I think he could have a big game, but he could also put up 6 points, which would be absolutely detrimental. So for right now, we just play Freeman and Debo, and that's where we roll with. But I don't understand your comment in regards to if I wait, I'll have to bench Chase for Debo. Why would you have to bench Chase for Debo? They play in the same game, right? So why wouldn't you just play them both? I'm confused. Maybe you can kind of clarify in the chat. Thank you. A couple more questions were sent in after Brett. We have Rec Mods says full PPR. Jeff Wilson Jr., Russell Gage, Sterling Shepard. Russell Gage. Bobby Known says PPR 2 out of 3. Jeff Wilson, Josh Reynolds, Westbrook. Jeff Wilson and Westbrook are those are my 2 suggestions right now. Devin Watkins said good morning. Keep grinding. Need a flex. Judy, CEH, Ayuk, and Chuba Hubbard. Judy and CEH are great options. I think we probably want to play Chuba. Do I want to play Chuba Hubbard instead of Jerry Judy? If it's a half PPR scoring format, I'd play both running backs. I'd play CEH and I'd play Chuba Hubbard. If it's a full PPR, I'd play CEH and Judy. Thank you very much, Devin. Gil559 says, what's up, Andrew? Flex Chubb or T. Higgins in the full PPR? I think I answered this a little bit earlier. It really hurt me to say it, but I think I'm going to play T. Higgins. And it really hurts because I do think that Nick Chubb is just as good as any of these other running backs and could very easily have himself a monster game. So it's a little concerning, but yeah. All the other games are at 10 a.m. Right, no, I understand that. But like my question, Brett, is why aren't you starting Jamar Chase and Deebo Samuel this week? Why does it have to be one or the other? So are you, because Deebo's playing, like that's a for sure. I'm confused to an extent. Maybe I'm busted in the head, but I don't know. It says 1:39 versus 10 a.m. decision, but yes, have to choose now. Okay. Schmitty says pick 2, J-Rob, CEH, Jeff Wilson, Javonte. CEH and Javonte are my suggestions there, Schmitty. Seth O'Connor says Mike Williams or Sony Michel non-PPR. In a non-PPR, probably Sony. Gage, Mooney, or Landry full PPR. She Love Raf, I would play Landry. Higgins is listed as questionable on Yahoo. I'm aware. Their head coach said that he's going to play, so that's my assumption that I'm going to trust their head coach into believing. Why is this guy so focuses on one guy? Listen, finish a damn sentence, Brandon. Gee, many Christmas, man. Morning, Andrew. Need 2. Okay, where the heck did that question go, though? It kind of got cut off. DJ Moore or Renfro in a PPR? Red. I'd play Renfro. She-Love, I'm going to play Landry there. Vic84 says full PPR. Kicker, McManus, Bullock, McPherson, or Gano. I'm playing McPherson. Evan McPherson, Bengals. That's my suggestion. Justin Fields or Teddy B? I have Teddy B higher in my rankings, Ben. Thank you. Can you pick half PPR? MVS, Mooney, Jeff Wilson, or Landry? I'd play Jeff Wilson there. I really don't want to bench Pitts. David, I think, it's you either bite the bullet and run with it or you don't. This is what I typically do. When I'm in scenarios where I'm like 50-50 players, I just set my lineup, I throw my phone across the room, and I go to the other room and I just figure some stuff out, I just try to avoid it at all costs, especially when it's a 50-50. But at this point, dude, I'm playing Hooper over Pitts. Is it the greatest play? I mean, based on the way that Pitts has been playing as of late, it's tough. Zach Levine Stan says, I missed my... the reply from earlier. Choose one. Ayuk, Hollywood, McLaurin, James Robinson, Tyler Lockett, Chubbs, Hubbard. You mean Chuba, right? I don't know why you guys keep doing this to me. I can't tell if you guys are trolling or not. Okay, anyway. Ayuk, Hollywood, McLaurin, James, Lockett. Okay. Out of the group, I'm playing Tyler Lockett. That's my suggestion, Zach. Thank you. Rex Mod says, both half PPR, Cooks or Gage / DJ Moore. Okay. So Cooks or Gage. In a half PPR, I think I'm still playing Gage. And then in a full PPR, DJ Moore, Gage, I'm playing DJ Moore. What are we looking for again? Okay, cool. So the next thing that we want here, hello, Andrew. Pick 2, CH, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin. Play both the receivers there, Roberto. MVS or J-Rob? Play MVS. No. Play J-Rob. Play J-Rob, Steven. Pick 2, OBJ, MVS, Higgins, and OBJ. Higgins or Mike Evans? Mike Evans in a half PPR, Higgins in a full PPR. Nick Kane says Foreman or Jefferson. Foreman, 1,000%. Again, guys, a lot of the rankings are on the screen. I'm telling you, there are. And I appreciate the donations. You guys don't even understand. Like, it helps so much in terms of building this channel to where it needs to be. Holy moly. Keeps the lights on, pays all the bills. I appreciate it. But man, it's on the screen, Nick. I swear. It's not going to change. The answer wouldn't change. But hey, listen, I appreciate the donation. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. We are sitting here. It is 9:54. Mixon or Chubby? I mean, listen, Ivan, I'm going to probably play Mixon there. As it says on screen. Drop Dolphins or Colts defense rest of the season. I'd rather have the Dolphins rest of the season. Yeah, I'd rather have Dolphins. Especially considering I think they got a couple good matchups coming, especially in the fantasy playoffs here. Who do I play in the flex? Antonio Gibson or Jamar Chase? 100% Antonio Gibson, not even close. Thoughts on Ayuk? Could be better considering Debo's, reinsertion into this lineup because, the 3 weeks prior to, Debo being absent, he was decent. How high is Jefferson since Williams? Look, Jefferson's on screen. How high is he on the list? Jamar Jefferson sits at 32. Is he very high on the list? No. Is he playable running back? Certainly, but not the greatest. Not the greatest. Thank you, Han, for that question. Let's see here. Dakota says, "Thanks for all that you do." Thank you very much, Dakota. I appreciate that. Boom. Okay, cool. Julio or Brandon Cooks? I'd probably go Julio there. Gordon or Jeff Wilson? I play Jeff Wilson. No, wait, hold up. In a full PPR, that actually kind of makes it a little bit different. Man, let's just play Jeff Wilson. Yeah, let's play Jeff Wilson. Saints or Seahawks? Oh, really quickly before we finish. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead for the 5th time today. I'm gonna reiterate my top 12 defenses so we're on the same page. Okay, here are my top 12 defenses for Week 14. Saints, Broncos, Packers, Chargers, Titans, Seahawks, Panthers, Cowboys, Chiefs, 49ers, Ravens, Browns. There it is. So to answer your question, whoever the heck that was, where is it? I forget where. I don't even know. The question's gone. It updated. It's gone. Somewhere here. But it's gone. Anyway, hopefully that answered your question. You like Taysom or the more than Cam, even with the finger tendon issue? Yeah, he's got like the mallet finger or whatever it's called. Yeah, I still prefer Taysom Hill. Roy Powell says, "Is Mixon playing? Should I play McLaurin at 10?" Look, everything that I've seen, Mixon's playing. If you're in a scenario where you're like, listen, I don't even have Samaje Perine, it may not be worth it for me to go ahead and start Mixon if he doesn't play. I really do think he's going to play. I wouldn't put him on the list unless I thought he was going to. We've done this in weeks past where, we didn't expect players to play. Even if you don't have Samaje Perine, I'm sure you can find somebody. Dude, I feel like you just have to play Mixon. And you have to risk it, even if it's a quote-unquote risk, which I don't think it is. I think he's going to play. So that's my suggestion. Let's go Daniel Carlson. Yeah, Daniel Carlson. Let's see my top kickers this week. Justin Tucker, Matt Gay, Daniel Carlson, Tyler Bass, Harrison Butker, Matt Prater, Evan McPherson, Greg Zuerlein, Ryan Suckup, Robbie Gould, Mason Crosby, Randy Bullock. Those are my top 12 kickers of the week. Of course, when we eliminate Boswell and Greg Joseph from Thursday. Okie dokie. Gabriel Camacho says, Gallup or Van Jefferson? Van Jefferson is my suggestion there, Gabriel. I appreciate it. McKissick ranking. Dylan, McKissick is out with a concussion. He's not playing this week. That is why Antonio Gibson is so high in my rankings. On screen. Sorry if you already answered. Julio or Jeff Wilson? I'd probably play Jeff Wilson there. Thank you, Captain. Javonte or Sony Michel in a full PPR? I prefer Javonte over Sony in a full PPR. Opposite and a half. Because Javonte is obviously more of a receiving back. It's Shepard or Guyton? Shepard. Hubbard, Wilson, Jefferson. Half PPR. Hubbard. Keenan Allen out. Too bad. Yeah, it is unfortunate. It is, especially for those of us who need a clutch win. The fact that he can get, play so well until now and then, boom, he's out when we need him most. It's tragic. Oh, it's tragic. All right, let's see here. Is it safe to say that there will be a draft kit next year as well? It is very safe to say that there will be, yes. That is very safe to say. All right, we're sitting here. It is 9:59. I appreciate you guys coming out, supporting the channel, clicking the like button down below, giving me your viewership, of course, spending your Sunday morning with me here. Kickoff with Kiorkof for Week 14. We do this every Sunday morning, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Tomorrow we'll, of course, have our waiver wire episode in order to set us up for success for the fantasy playoffs. Hopefully, everyone wins in this chat. Though it's not possible, I'm hoping for the best for all of you. Thank you, everybody, for supporting the channel. Again, if you guys end up in a scenario in which perhaps your fantasy season ends today, obviously we're not hoping for that to be the case, but let's say we get in a scenario where that is the case. I'm telling you, there's more fantasy football to be played, even if your regular season redraft league is done. Check out Underdog Fantasy. Again, there are a bunch of drafts where you can participate, win money, have a lot of fun. I've been getting into it every single week now. Of course, you can go ahead and use promo code Andrew. With that usage, of course, Underdog Fantasy is willing to match up to $100 of your first deposit. So go ahead and check that out. The link is down in the description. Whether or not you do win or not, it's another alternative to play fantasy. Have fun, win some money on the side for those of you interested. A couple questions got sent in at the end here. Vic84 says, one more, Andy, full PPR, Debo or Higgins? I'm playing Debo. I mean, look, if he's active, then it gives me enough confidence to throw him in there. If you're worried about it, you can play T. Higgins, but I think T. Higgins has himself his own injuries too. So, there's a balance here, and I think Debo's probably just a better play here because there is no, what's his name? There is no Elijah Mitchell. Where was this? Isaac says 72, 72, 20, 72. Yeah, look, the font that I'm using, it does make it look like a 7. I'll give you that. But trust me, it's a 1. But that was funny. That was good. Is Brady going to do better than Cousins? Yeah, he should. All right. It is 10:01 a.m. Gauge or MVS? Guys, it's on screen. A lot of these are on screen. Anyway, thank you, everybody, for watching. I'm going to go watch some football. Enjoy my Sunday. I hope you do the same. Let's get into it, shall we? Week 14. For me, I'm gonna go sit on the couch and we're gonna watch 8 hours. Is it at 8 hours? What is Scott Hansen said? He says 8 hours of commercial free football. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to watch Red Zone. See you guys. Peace.